Whether the team is performing or whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues. We'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So I had a chance to watch the film from week number 5 versus the Tennessee Titans. And it's a lot of what I thought I was going to find. I knew I was going to be disappointed. I knew I was going to be feeling worse about the game. Normally, and I said this during the film breakdown, if you're on Patreon, the film will be up right after this stream. It's uploading now, so it should be, because it's 3 hours and some change. So by the time this is done, it'll be up for you on Patreon, so you can check it out. The entire game broke down, every single play, possession, etc., etc. So normally when I watch film, the outcome is, oh, I feel better. Yeah, look, a play here, someone does their job a little bit better there, little small detail that you missed here. If you correct these little things, yeah, this doesn't have to be as gloom and doom as I think. That's usually what film does for me. But in games where I go in expecting to win, know we're the better team, and I felt that in the moment as I was watching the game, okay, we aren't the better team when we play the Philadelphia Eagles. They have a better roster than we do, period. We're not the better team when we play Dallas. But I'll take my chances against Cooper Rush. They got Dak Prescott. We're not. We've proven this over the years. There's enough of a sample size. What is he, 7, 8-1 against us? We've proven over the years. It's a large enough sample size. We're not better than the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott in the lineup. So I'll take my chances, in a game against Cooper Rush. But I know that going into that game, we can win. And if things go our way, we can somehow come away with the W. But if we don't, I'm not like falling, I'm not going to be going crazy because we didn't get it done, losing my mind like, oh my God, how did we lose this game? That's kind of how I felt. I felt like the Titans game was one that we needed to win. I felt the same way I felt about Jacksonville. Detroit, I felt like we should have won that game, but at that time, early in the season, you really don't know what you're going to get yourself into. And the Lions showed me in the first week against Philadelphia that they're going to score points, and they weren't going to quit. And so I knew we had our hands full, but I thought we could have beaten them, and we were the better team there as well. I haven't felt that way since week 2 against Detroit. I didn't feel that way against Philadelphia in week 3. I didn't feel that way against Dallas in week 4. Said that right. I haven't felt like we should win this game since week 2 against Detroit. And then watching the film made me feel worse because we left so many points on the field. We missed so many opportunities, and it made me sick to my stomach watching how many times that we let Tennessee off the hook. And then just watching the game back, the Titans suck. I mean, and that's no disrespect to the Titans, right? You know how I feel about when someone says no disrespect, right? But the Titans have absolutely nothing on offense. I respect the hell out of their defense, but we still should have scored points on it. Their offense is god-awful minus Derrick Henry. Everybody else on that offense can kick rocks. And as far as I'm concerned, we got beat by a JV offense. It is disgusting that we allowed the likes of Nick Westbrook-Akina. I don't even know the backup running back's name who caught, the screen pass that scored the touchdown. They got a bunch of guys that wouldn't be on the field on 31 other NFL rosters on their offense. And we lost to that team. It's sickening. And it's not like the defense was putrid. They weren't good enough, but they were good enough for us to win the game. But they shouldn't have scored 21 points is what I'm getting at. The most they should have scored was 14. They had no business making it to 20. None. And in the offense, we should have scored 30-plus points in that game. Carson Wentz has to be better. Now, Scott Turner has to be better. they either have to find a way to get Andrew Norwell to play better, or they have to bench him. He's getting to Trey Turner territory where it's like you can't keep putting him on the field. It was funny because after the game, there were several of you, one in particular, and I can't remember what his name was. I think it was Dynamic Dave. But there were several of you, I know Dynamic Dave was one of them, after the game that said, hey, we got to bench Andrew Norwell. He cost us this game. And I'm like, I don't really know about that. I don't know if Andrew Norwell was that bad. You know, he wasn't good. And there was one possession in particular. He had a holding penalty. Then he followed that up by getting bulldozed. And Carson Wentz got sacked because the guy that bulldozed him ran over him and then sacked Carson Wentz. I'm like, yeah, he had a couple of moments where he sucked. But yeah, I don't know if he needs to be benched. No. I watched the film. He was awful. He needs to be benched. The problem is, who are you going to put in? This is where you run into the where's Wes Schweitzer dilemma. You don't have another guy. I mean, they could coach up Aaron Montero, and this would be the perfect week. No, or next week would be the perfect week to you have these extra days where you say, all right, we're going to get Aaron. If we get another Andrew Norwell dud on Thursday night, I think it's time they start getting Aaron Montero or Chris Paul ready to start. Okay, I'm sick of this shit. He was awful in the game. He was awful when you go back and watch. And he accounted for a lot of things. Cam Sims, I'll give you an example. Cam Sims is running a deep post, one-on-one. And Carson is loading it up, boy. He's cocking that thing back. And you know, Carson was firing the deep ball on Sunday. So I got nothing but the utmost confidence that he was going to put that bad boy right in the spot where 89 could go and get it. And it's one-on-one with a 5'11 DB trailing him on the play. He's already got a step on him. And I'm thinking, if this thing is in the general vicinity, 89 is going to get it. Carson's loading up. All right. He's got the van packed up. He's turned the engine on. He's ready to take off. And Andrew Norwell's man is falling at Carson Wentz's feet. Carson gets scared. He puts the car in reverse. And he gets out of there. And ends up running. And ultimately, it wouldn't have mattered because his guy was at Carson's feet because he held him, which they threw the flag for. But if he doesn't hold him, if he just blocks him, and this guy didn't do anything creative on the play, just ran his ass slam over. If he doesn't get bulldozed on the play and spook Carson, we got another big play. Think about the time when we went on it on fourth down, right? When we went for it on fourth down. This is where Carson has to be better. On the third down, right? De'Ami Brown is wide open. Everybody on the play, like Scott Turner, again, situational awareness, not great. We've already documented that. But when you watch the film, there are plays where guys are open. I still don't love a lot of his concepts. And I actually think, and you guys can take this however you want, and I can't prove this. There's no validity to this, right? There's no there's no confirming nor denying this. But if you ask me, Scott Turner was way more creative when he had to be. Back in 2020, when he had nothing but Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, and Terry McLaurin, and Logan Thomas. He was way more creative because he had to, out of necessity. We saw much better stuff from him then. I think he's gotten lazier and lazier as he's gotten more and more talent. He's had to be less creative. But there were guys open. On that particular third down, De'Ami Brown is wide open and it gets batted down. I mean, what are you going to do? All right? Like, damn, he was open. You had him. It would have been 1st and 10 from the Titans 25. Instead, now it's 4th and 4 from the 40. And this is my last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to move on. Carson makes a poor pre-snap read, okay? You've got trips down to the bottom of the screen, and this is what I was talking about in the red zone. If you guys recall, I said, you got all these bunch and trips formations. Isolate a guy. in the red zone, it's all about matchups. It's all about X's. It's not about X's and O's a lot of the time. It can be. Like Sean Payton used to run these little motion screens, get a couple guys blocking, you just throw it to the guy that's coming in motion real quick and he walks in the end zone. That's X's and O's. You schemed up a touchdown down inside the 5. But for the most part, it's about Jimmys and Joes when you get inside the 5. Okay? It's about, can my guy be your guy one-on-one? Can I create a matchup for my guy one-on-one so that I can get him the football? Which is why you see a lot of back shoulder fades. You see a lot of pylon comebacks. Why? Because it's away from the crowd and the congestion that always is in the red zone. That's always inside the 10 and inside the 5. It's a condensed area. So you want to separate yourself from the crowd so that you get an opportunity to where your guy catches it or nobody catches it. You don't want balls getting tipped in the air. There's too many people around. That ball gets tipped in the air, more likely than not, it's going to fall in the hands of a defender. So on 4th down, Scott Turner dials up, and the Titans gave you the look you're looking for. Like, you pre-snap read. You look at the Titans defensive alignment and you say, oh my God, I got one-on-one. This is cover 1 across the board, and we got a single high free safety. There is no way he's getting a Cole Turner on this 9 route up the sideline before I put that ball there. I got what I want. Pre-snap, he should be able to identify this. Why Carson Wentz is waiting for Curtis Samuel from the other side of the field to clear all the way on a deep over route is beyond me. I'm at a loss as to why. And even then, if you remember the 4th down where he throws it and the defender kind of tips it, but even if he doesn't tip it, Curtis is blanketed. There's no way he's catching the football. Terry is open right underneath that in the first window. Curtis is in the second window, and Terry's open. If you want to throw it short, throw it to him. But to me, there's no debating his primary read on that play. Once you get to the line of scrimmage, you look over the defense, you see that single high free safety, and you see one-on-one outside with Cole Turner against a safety. There's nothing else to think about. I'm snapping this ball. Give me this shit. Snap the ball. I want it as quickly as I can get it. I'm getting the laces, and I'm throwing a beauty outside shoulder, just like you did to De'Ami Brown, one-on-one touchdown, and Cole Turner beat Kevin Byard like he stole something off the snap, right off the line of scrimmage. And what's funny is you fail on that 4th down. You get the look you're looking for, you fail. You know why we get the De'Ami Brown touchdown on the next possession? Is because Carson sat his ass down on the bench. He looked at the goddamn Microsoft Surface tablet. Okay, he saw he missed a one-on-one opportunity. And you know what the Titans gave us on the very next possession as we got to the 30-yard line? You know what they gave us? Cover 1, same exact look. All Scott Turner did was he flipped sides of the field now. Okay, he flipped sides of the field as to what he was doing. So he took the bunch formation that was at the bottom of the screen and he put the trips to the top. He took the one-on-one with Cole Turner down from the top to the bottom of the screen, and he took De'Ami Brown, who was in the middle, all right, in the slot, if you will. But he was the number 2 on the read, on the trip side of the formation, and ran a slot fade, which is a 9 route, essentially. A slot fade. And Carson put it right on his outside shoulder, one-hand grab, touchdown. He watched the tablet. He said, damn, I had one-on-one and I missed it. And they came back to it, and he didn't miss it the next time. This is why I'm willing to give Carson mercy and grace. Now, look, as a quarterback that's been in this league, you don't need to be in an offense for any amount of time to be able to scan the defense pre-snap, look at what they're in, and determine where the best, look is for you to get the football. He should have been able to determine right out of the gates, scanning the defense. I got one-on-one with Cole Turner out here. I'm taking my shot. That doesn't require being in Scott Turner's offense for 2 years to figure that out. Carson's got to be better. As he gets more and more reps and he gets more and more comfortable, I expect him to be better. But that's something where you're like, Carson, that doesn't make any sense. That's not a Scott Turner system read. That's a, hey, bro, one-on-one, cover 1, safety can't get there. We got single high free safety. You got to get that football to Cole Turner one-on-one. He wins immediately off the snap. You got to get the ball to Cole Turner one-on-one. This is what we drafted him for. This is the look you're looking for. And I'll just say this. Terry had at least 5 or 6 opportunities where he's wide ass open. I'm talking, oh my God. And Carson either wasn't looking his way or got spooked before he could cut it loose to Terry. So understand that as well. That said, we should have won that football game. I'm disgusted after watching the film. Absolutely. And you'll see that for gold members of the mob, when you watch it, you're going to be pissed off just like I was. And I knew I was going to be pissed off. I was even more pissed off than I thought I was going to be because of all the opportunities that we missed. Same thing with you Patreon supporters. You're going to be pissed off when you see it as well. But I digress. All right, let's move on to in other news. So, Will Jack, did y'all hear Will Jack got left home? Now, I don't really know the specifics of this situation. Look, remember yesterday's injury report? You know what? Let's dive into that. I think it's the perfect segue. We'll dive into the injury report and then we'll circle back to Will Jack being left at home. And we can draw our own inferences. You know, I like to draw inferences. You give me a tidbit of information, I'll do the rest. I'll fill in all the blanks. Whether it's right or wrong, that's what I do. So let's take a look at the injury report first, and then we'll come back. So obviously, we've got a laundry list, as we always do. And I already told you this earlier in the week. I said all of the guys that would have, that you remember, Monday's practice was a walkthrough, essentially, or yeah, Monday's practice was a walkthrough, and it didn't require any helmets or anything. So it wasn't technically really a practice. So they essentially predicted what someone would have done if it was a real practice. They projected, hey, this guy would have been limited had we really practiced. This guy would have not practiced, and this guy would have been a full participant. William Jackson III was full on Monday, right? He would have practiced fully. He was limited on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, he's a DNP. Now, we'll get to that in a second. Let's just go through the list. I told you all the guys that were DNPs on Monday's practice, which was a walkthrough, they weren't going to play. And so no surprises. Percy Butler's out. Told you he would be. Sam Cosme's out. Jahan Dotson's out. I didn't know about Logan Thomas. He was limited on Monday. I thought, limited. Then he didn't practice Tuesday or Wednesday. So he's out, which, you know what? I'm not upset about, other than he's more trustworthy than the young tight ends that we have, especially in the run game. But I want to see more Cole Turner. I want them to give him an opportunity. They put him out there. They gave him opportunities, and Carson just simply didn't get him the football enough. He had opportunities. I would like to see Carson give him more opportunities. Same thing with Terry. Give him more opportunities to be a playmaker. Jonathan Williams, I told you I didn't think he would play. So those are the extent of the guys that I didn't think were going to play. Logan was a surprise. I thought he might be able to go, but clearly that is not the case. So got a bunch of DNPs and guys that are out for this game. Now you get to De'Ami Brown. He's questionable. That sucks because he's coming off of a career performance, and now he may be a game time decision, and we're already down a receiver in Jahan Dotson, and we can ill afford to be down De'Ami Brown. We really need him to be out there. It'd be nice if he could go, but we'll see what happens there. That's a big one. Of all the names up here, he's the biggest one because Carson Wentz isn't even listed anymore on the injury report. He's fine and good to go. David Mayo is going to play. Same can be said for Christian Holmes. But William Jackson III is the intriguing one. De'Ami is the important one. So interesting is William Jackson III. Important is De'Ami Brown. That's where we are with the injury report. We'll talk more about it here in a second. Let's take a look at the Bears. And again, small list, not a lot here to chew on. It's crazy because they played on Sunday just like we did, and they've only got 4 guys on the injury report. Amazing. Yet only one of them is out. 2 of them have been removed from the list altogether, and 1 guy is questionable in Dane Cruikshank. So not a lot here. Not a lot to chew on here, which sucks, but it is. That's the way the cookie crumbles. So let's get back to in other news, and I want to talk about William Jackson III because I'm not sure exactly what happened with him. Is he really hurt, or did he get benched? And did they just not want him to travel? Now, if someone has a back injury, it's not good for them to get on a flight. It's not an ideal situation to jump on a plane and sit for 3-4 hours. So it would make a ton of sense if his back really flared up and they don't want him traveling into Chicago. But he just was a full participant. And again, Monday wasn't a real practice, so I don't want to put too much stock into that. He was limited on Tuesday, and then he was ruled out of the game on Wednesday, essentially. Is this the beginning of William Jackson III being like inactive on Sundays to the point where they can't be that frustrated with him? There are other guys that have been way worse than William Jackson III. They can't be that frustrated with him, can they? Where they start making him inactive on a weekly basis? I don't think so. I don't think they're that upset. I do think he actually is dealing with a back injury. I think they benched him for performance, though, on Sunday, because Ron could have did the whole spiel like he did where he went out of his way to give us a War and Peace novel explanation as to why Trey Turner was yanked out of the game. Like, no, he sucks. Trey Turner is moving like a 47-year-old man. And you could blame it on the quad, and it may be the quad, but he just doesn't look like a guy that can move and function the way that he needs to. And remember, there were 2 teams previous to us that agreed and said, hey, he stinks. So I wasn't doubting that he just was funky. But Ron went out of his way to say, I sat him down, I talked to him, and I told him he can still help us, but he's not healthy right now. He's not right. And so we had to get him out of there. Yeah, Ron went out of his way to explain to us in great detail why Trey Turner was benched. He wasn't benched because he stunk. He benched because he was hurt. He was benched in that regard. With William Jackson III, he's like, no, we sat him down pretty much. We yanked him, or we pulled him. I think he said we pulled him. He's like, well, William Jackson III said his back flared up, and he told you, he's like, bro, we pulled him. I'm not giving you anything else. I'm not telling you if it was injury related or performance. We pulled him. Sounds like he got benched to me, but it's something to keep an eye on. That's all I'm going to say to you. That's all I'm going to say to you. In any event, let's go ahead and dive into behind enemy lines, and then we will get to your comments for social media maneuvers. Let's go behind enemy lines. Out of Ohio State. I just feel so we're behind enemy lines. Again, we're down in the bunker. You guys know how this goes. Look out. We're looking for some help here. And lo and behold, I find my guy Faz from FaizSportsTalk Sports taking care of the Chicago Bears. If you're a Bulls fan, he's doing that too. So we're going to talk Bears specifically in the Week 6 matchup versus the Washington Commanders. And so before we get into the matchup, I'm an NFL guy, as you know, and so I'm always interested in things going on with other teams. And so specifically, we're 5 games in. You're heading into Week 6. What are your first impressions of head coach Matt Eberflus?
All right. Hey, what's going on, Louie? Thanks for having me on the show first and foremost. As far as my first impressions of the head coach, I'd say they're kind of somewhere in between. I'm not in love with the guy, but I don't think he's terrible. It's certainly taken me some time to kind of grow with his style, but when you were replacing the other Matt Nagy, the bar isn't very high. I do think Eberflus has come in with a sense of seriousness. I think he's come in with a sense of command that Nagy didn't have. And I can see that the Bears team just plays harder. Don't have a lot of talent on this roster, but they do play hard. So I'll give Matt credit for that.
And I think that's the natural progression of an organization that's struggling and looking for a spark is you try to do the direct opposite. You go to the other end of the spectrum, if you will, from the last head coach. As a Washington fan, we can kind of, relate to that. We had Jay Gruden. I mean, one of his players was giving him a wet willy. You know what I'm saying? And then you go from that guy to someone that you thought was a hard ass coming in Ron Rivera, and that's kind of what the Bears have done with Matt Eberflus. He's more of a defensive-minded guy. My philosophy tends to be when you have a young quarterback like Justin Fields, you want to bring in a young offensive-minded head coach to kind of mentor that quarterback and grow with that quarterback. It's hard when you find that defensive guy, but then you find an offensive coordinator, because if that coordinator is any good, he's going to get a job, and then you're starting all over from scratch potentially, unless you have a quarterback's coach on the roster or someone like that that can just step into that position. So talk to me about Matt Eberflus's philosophy, because he's a defensive-minded guy. We know this. He came from Indianapolis, did a phenomenal job with the Colts, turning that defense into one of the best in the league. The Bears haven't been as good on defense, to your point, not a ton of talent necessarily. They've probably got way more talent on that side of the ball than they do on the offensive side. But is his philosophy more of, hey, Justin, just don't F this up, and the defense will give us a chance to win? Is that more of the approach that he's taking thus far?
Yeah, I think early on in the season, that's probably kind of been the approach, just from seeing the amount of pass attempts or lack thereof that we've seen from Fields. But the offensive show, it's being called by Luke Getsy. We know that he's the offensive coordinator. But to your point, when this offseason began, the guy I wanted is the guy who's got his team at 4-1, which is Brian Daboll.
Yeah, he was the
right.
hot ticket.
And I know everybody's going to come and tell me it was a package deal. He was heading to New York before he even left for the job. But look, you never know until you try. I really do wish we ended up with Daboll because I wanted that offensive coordinator, offensive head coach, to be with a young quarterback in Justin Fields. And now you have a guy in Matt Eberflus, who I think he to me just seems to focus on the team overall, which is good, but he doesn't understand really this season's all about, number one, the quarterback. Right. It's about Justin Fields and his development and his progression. And so Luke Getsy, I feel like he's had a bit of a rocky start here with this play calling. He's gotten a little bit better. Justin showed some progress against the Vikings, but I'm really hoping that, we see a little bit more here. It's just tough, man. Like I did really want that offensive head coach, and you have exceptions to the rule. Josh Allen's got McDermott, who's a defensive guy, so maybe it could happen, but you really, really want that offensive guy. And so I'm hoping that Luke Getsy, if he gets a job in 3 years and leaves us, that means he probably did a good job. So I'm hoping that happens.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what you're hoping for, because that means you're successful. But piggybacking off of what you said, that I think Brian Daboll was the prize of the offseason. There were so many teams that wanted him, or fans rather, that wanted him as their new head coach. But like you said, the new GM in New York came from Buffalo, so it just seemed like it was inevitable that he would end up there. But I think this is a perfect transition to Justin Fields, because that's where I was going next. You talked about his evolution and how he's continuing to grow. They're starting to put a little bit more. I just feel like they've got training wheels on this kid. I mean, he's only thrown the most passes he's thrown in any game this season is 22. That was a couple of weeks ago against the Giants. He's had a game where he's only thrown 11. He's had 2 where he's only thrown 17, 21, 22. Those are the numbers. Okay. In this league, you have to be able to throw the football to be successful. I've talked about this. I thought it was pure negligence on the part of the Bears and what they did to him this offseason in terms of the weapons that they surrounded him with, or lack thereof. Literally, it's Darnell Mooney, about 2 or 3 backs that you really like, and then the one tight end from Notre Dame. It's not a great group. It's hard to really put a lot, and then the offensive line isn't great either. So felt like they kind of left him out to dry. What says you about Justin Fields, his maturation process, where he is? Is he underperforming? Is he overperforming? Is he right where you thought he would be at this point of his career? And what do you see for the future with this staff as it's constructed as of right now?
All right. Great questions. A lot to digest there. I'll try to break it down one by one. So the first thing I want to talk about is this is not the regime that drafted Justin Fields. We know that coming in. Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, they didn't draft him, right? It was the old regime. And so immediately your mind goes to, do they even care to a certain extent about his growth and development, because he's not their guy.
Right.
They're not tied to him. For instance, if Justin Fields flames out and doesn't end up working out, I don't think this regime would get fired because he wasn't their guy.
Right.
So there's that aspect of working there. But then you think about the fact that when they took this job, if the ownership didn't, let them know, I'm sure I don't know how you look past it.
Right.
Justin Fields is the reason you kind of take the job here, is his development, and what's coming with it. So that's something I want to point out because, that is difficult sometimes to think about is, are they truly all invested? And you saw Ryan Poles didn't seem like he was invested because he didn't put talent around him.
At all.
Everybody is saying next season there's going to have all this cap space. They'll be able to surround him with talent. But when you are in in today's NFL rookie contract, you do everything you can to maximize that when he is on a cheap deal. So I didn't agree with the approach that the GM took. It wasn't popular with Bears fans, honestly. But we're kind of obviously just, sitting there and seeing how it plays out. Obviously can't do much about it other than criticize it.
Right.
And you're seeing it kind of unfold here. Now, talking about his progression. 5 games into the season, right? The Bears are 2-3. And Justin, Louie, I got a crazy stat for you. Justin has thrown the ball to where the Bears receivers have 49 receptions on the year.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp has that
in 5
not
games.
himself.
In 5
never,
games.
ever happened in 2022. Ever.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, that seems impossible.
Yeah.
To a point. So you have bad quarterbacks that throw the football more. You're right. They have the training wheels on this kid. Now, last week was kind of the first real, I felt like, chance by Luke Getsy to get the training wheels off a little bit. He let Justin throw in that game. And now in the second half, if the receiver, Amir Smith-Marset, doesn't fumble that football, the Bears have a chance to maybe even upset the Vikings in that game. But he needs to throw the football more. All right. Point blank period, 20 to 25 attempts needs to happen. This season thus far, let's just be honest about it as a Bears fan, he has not looked great. 3 touchdowns, I believe, to 4 interceptions on the year. The numbers aren't there. But here's the thing. It's a new coach. It's a new offense. It's a new scheme. Everything's new. So you definitely need to give him the entire season. So I'm not saying I'm out on this kid or anything like that. He's got all the talent in the world. And I think it will turn around as he gets more comfortable. But I do feel like the lack of talent is really, really going to hamper his development to where, you're going to end this season and you're still going to be on the fence like, hey, we saw some flashes, but is he really the guy? And I hope I'm wrong about this, but if you had some talent around this kid, you probably would have felt otherwise.
Yeah, I was so disappointed in what Ryan Poles did this offseason. I'm looking at Equanimous St. Brown and Pringle from the Chiefs, and I'm like, are you serious? Is this the best you can?
Your 4s.
I mean, come on, seriously, exactly. Like, you got to be kidding me, right? So, I feel the same way that you do about Justin Fields. I was never a big Justin Fields guy coming out of Ohio State. I just feel like Ohio State quarterbacks, for some reason, I don't know if it's the offense that they're in or whatever the case may be. It just, for whatever reason, it doesn't translate well to the NFL.
Louie, can I ask you if that's the only reason you weren't big Justin Fields guy coming out of college? Was it because of Ohio State, or on tape did you see things that you didn't like?
So they always tell you don't scout the helmet, scout the player, right? So I always try to go in. It's hard. I'm human, right? And I've seen so many Ohio State quarterbacks fail, so that's always in the back of my mind. But no, it's because of the things that I saw on tape watching him that I didn't love. I love the leadership. I love the toughness, the moxie, the poise, all of that stuff. He's got all the intangibles you're looking for in an NFL quarterback. He's the guy you want leading your team. There was just too many, missed throws. There were too many reads where I felt like he didn't get through his progressions fast enough. And then, you could see where he would have some hiccups at the next level if some of these things didn't improve. And I'm like, you're not playing in the Big Ten anymore. You're now going to be playing in the NFL. So you're not going to be able to go through these reads any slower and have better success. And he's a really good athlete, but he's not like Lamar Jackson, right? And he's not the biggest guy. He's a thick guy, but he's not the biggest guy in the world. And he took a beating in college at times. And I'm like, you really don't want
beating
so far in his career. Exactly. You really don't want this kid running around a ton. And so his legs, while they are a factor, it's not as big a factor as it was in college. So I just felt like he was going to have to be better from the pocket, and I haven't seen that. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't think I was going to see it anyway. But I'm rooting for him to be successful because I want to see him have an opportunity. But you got to give him a chance, and I don't think they've done that to this point in his career. But I talked about Eberflus being a defensive-minded guy. And so the first thing I thought of when you hired him was that this Bears defense wasn't half bad before he got there. So now add him to the mix, the pieces that they have, you've got some really quality defenders. Don't know the long-term sticking power of Roquan Smith on that defense, but you've got Quinn, who I didn't think he would have the kind of resurgence he had last year. It was amazing to see what he did last season. Mm-hmm. He's still out there. I love Travis Gibson. I wanted my team to draft him when he was coming out of Tulsa.
Yeah, very underrated.
I mean, that guy, I love Travis Gibson. He's having a really good year to start. Then you look at the rest of that defense. I love the Jaquan Brisker pick. You guys are at your best when the Alabama safety, I always forget his name, Eddie Jackson gets a turnover. Usually it's a pick, but that's when you guys are at your best. Yeah. And then the corners, Jalen Johnson and, all of these young guys that you're throwing out there. I just think it's a really solid group. How have they performed this season? And do you think that they can be a dominant group under Matt Eberflus?
So Matt Eberflus, I've been a fan of his defensive schemes and his defensive game plan for a while. Like that Indy defense was a problem when he was there. So that part I was excited about. As far as how they've performed this year, it's been a tale of two sides, if you will, in terms of the pass defense and the run defense.
Right.
The pass defense is almost elite to the point where they're like top 10 in terms of the pass defense numbers. Mm-hmm. The run defense is just abysmal, Louis. I mean, we get ran all over every week. Dalvin Cook last week ran all over us. Saquon Barkley, he's been running over everybody, but 146-something rushing yards. Mm-hmm. Aaron Jones, the game of his season so far against the Bears. So it just feels like the run defense and the pass defense are on two different levels. And it's funny. I know we're talking about the defense here. It's kind of the same situation with the offensive line. We're really good at run blocking, but we're not good at pass blocking.
Right.
So for some reason, that's kind of been the tale for the Bears thus far. I think the defense can improve. Certainly the pass defense with Jalen Johnson and our rookies back there with Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker, I think they'll get better as they grow more. But I'm worried the run defense might not be good all season long. Like, yeah, the defensive line is still has Robert Quinn and whatnot, but he's getting up there in age, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be something that turns around unless we add talent to it. But for the most part, you can run on the Bears all day long.
Is that like a byproduct of guys like Eddie Goldman no longer being there, you think?
Yeah. A lot of talent lost. Obviously, we got rid of Khalil Mack as well. So I think it's just a matter of missed tackles as well. A lot of missed tackles. I don't know if it's that one preseason game that we didn't have. Maybe we need more preseason. I don't know what it is, but a lot of missed tackles, a lot of the departure from the guys leaving here. So it's just been that. But I do think we'll get back to maybe some sort of a respectable range. Right now, they're bottom 5. It's bad.
It's bad.
Right now, it's bad. But hopefully they get back to a respectable range, as the season progresses.
Don't get me started on the preseason because the entire league needs more preseason. No one wants to watch it. It's a terrible product, but you can tell that this year in particular, these teams were not ready for week one. So now let's narrow the focus now. Let's talk about week 6, Thursday night football. Quick turnaround. Bears are 2-3. Commanders are 1-4. Bears have been a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't think they were going to beat San Francisco in week 1. I knew they were going to beat Houston. They barely beat Houston, but they beat the Texans. And so they found themselves at 2-3. And I was impressed with their performance against Minnesota last week. You start slow in that game. You look like you're going to get blown out, and you rally. You're down big, and all of a sudden you look up and you've taken a 22-21 lead, and you're like, what is going on right now? And so this Bears team, they won't go away. I thought that was Justin Fields' best performance as a pro to date. And so you've got some building blocks from that game. Talk about the feeling going into this game. I say this every week, and with the fan base, I talk about how, every team on the schedule for us looks like food, because there's not one game that's not winnable for us. But conversely, every team in the league, when they look at their schedule, when they get the schedule, they're counting Washington as a win. So they are looking at us like food. I imagine Bears fans, and I want your perspective as a fan.
Yeah.
Going into this game, what's the sentiment?
So going into this game, first and foremost, Thursday night football, right? We're thinking about prime time, and we're thinking about
all orange unis for the first time with the helmet.
Orange helmet. It's going to be fun. But it's funny. People were talking about this game like, last week when we had that abysmal Broncos game, and they've been on prime time for literally like
every game except for one.
They're on prime time again, Louis.
On Monday. I cannot believe this.
Yeah. So everybody's talking about, we get the Bears and Commanders next. So like it's obviously a running joke, right? We get that. Right. But essentially going into this game, when I saw the Commanders on the schedule, I didn't look at it as, oh my goodness, this is an easy victory. I mean, the betting lines have it as a pick 'em. So the Vegas sees this as two pretty much even teams, but it's a winnable game for the Bears. Yeah. And there's not a lot of those on the schedule. And that's what really popped out to me is we're at home. Yeah. All right, first of all, we're at home. Right. It is a short week, but it's against a team with a winnable schedule. And I did want to ask you this. This element did not come into my analysis when I broke down this game, but the entire Rivera-Carson Wentz fiasco that just happened, is that going to play any part on what we see from Carson Wentz even this week or moving forward? Can I just get your thoughts on that? I don't know if you had a take.
Yeah, I don't. I think it's going to be a minimal impact, if any. I don't think it really will be, because I don't think Rivera was using that as a referendum on Carson Wentz. I don't think he was announcing to the world that I made a mistake.
Okay.
I think he made a mistake in not thoroughly expressing himself. Clearly, I think the problem with the statement that he made was that it was so ambiguous that it left so much to be interpreted. And anyone who heard that comment, I literally heard 5 different ways that was interpreted. Alex Smith said that he was throwing Carson Wentz under the bus. And I think he was not throwing Wentz under the bus. But the way it was worded, you could draw that inference. Hey, he threw him right under the bus. He's saying that the rest of the league, division, has quarterbacks that are good enough and we don't. That's an easy inference to draw from that. I don't think that's what he was saying, though. I think what he was pretty much trying to say is that the rest of the division has had time to build around their quarterbacks. And so, it was a dumb answer. It was not the right answer. And he came back the next day. And the beauty of this being a short week was that he had another press conference the next day, because he put his foot in his mouth on Monday. And generally on a regular week, you don't hear from him again until Wednesday. But because this was a shortened week, it was condensed, he had to come back the following day on Tuesday and talk, because that would have been his Wednesday. And it gave him an opportunity to clean up the mess that he had created. And so the first thing he did was he said, I apologize to the team. I know better. I've been at this long enough. He said, shit, I had a bad day. And he told the team that, and he said, he sat down with Carson individually one-on-one and told him, look, that is not what that was supposed to be intended to mean. And you know how I feel about you. And so that's water under the bridge. I don't think it's going to have an impact, but look, we're already a mess. So it can't get much messier than it already is. You know what I mean? If this team is going to implode, they're going to implode regardless.
That is true. And I wanted your take on that, because I'm glad Rivera apologized, because I didn't want to piss off Carson Wentz against the Bears. All right. And him go off and have an incredible game. But just getting back to the game itself, I look at the Commanders as a team where, compared to the Bears, right, when I saw like a team like the Texans on schedule, like you said, I don't think the Texans have as much talent as the Bears do, even though the Bears don't have a lot, certainly on the offensive side. And I'm thinking we are the better team. When I look at the Commanders, I think the Commanders have more talent. I love your receiving core. Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel. I don't know if Dotson's going to play this week, but he's a great rookie. Even De'Ami Brown had a fantastic game in his absence. And you have Brian Robinson back now. Like the talent offensively on this team, and Carson Wentz hasn't been bad. He's been putting up numbers. I know the turnovers have been there. that's what you get with Carson Wentz.
Right.
So talent-wise, the Commanders are better, and they can win this game. But the fact that the Bears, I think, are at home, and like you said, Justin Fields coming off his best game, just makes me feel a little bit better about the Bears' chances going into this one. But by no means are the Commanders, an easy check victory for the Bears going on the schedule.
And to your point, you just made the point that infuriates most Washington Commanders fans, which is we feel like we're more talented than just about every team we've played this season, with the exception of Philadelphia and Dallas. We've played 5 games, and we feel like we're more talented than Jacksonville, more talented than Detroit, more talented than Tennessee, way more talented than the Titans.
Yeah.
And yet you're 1-4. And the common denominator in last year and the year before that, and these slow starts to the season this year and not getting it done, is the coaching staff. And so that's part of the reason why I wanted to ask you about Matt Eberflus and how you felt about him, because if your staff is better at the X's and O's and motivating these guys and putting them in positions to succeed, you're going to have a great chance to win this game, because the coaching staff is the weakness right now for the Washington Commanders as we head into this game. I want to know from you, I ask this to every guest that comes behind enemy lines, give me the biggest strength for the Bears right now and the biggest weakness for the Bears as we head into this Week 6 contest.
Biggest strength for the Bears, honestly, it's a cliche answer, but right now it's the quarterback, just because of the potential that he has. And I'll tell you this much, last week, Louis, Justin, like we said, had his best game of the season. He accounted for 89% of the Bears' offense. We're talking about passing and rushing. So the thing is, if Justin is able to use his legs and obviously use his arm to account and get the Bears going in this one, to me, he could be the difference in this game. So to me, that's the strength. And I really look at the other areas on this team. Like you mentioned, the wide receiver group isn't very good. Offensive line, terrible. Running backs, I like David Montgomery. He's been solid, but I've been in and out of the lineup with injuries. And then defensive side of the football, nothing great that I'm confident in. So I have to go with the quarterback. Biggest weakness, going back to the offensive line here, Justin Fields has been sacked more than any other quarterback, I believe, this year, or he gets sacked on more percentage of his dropbacks than any quarterback. The reason he had a good game last week was because he got time in the pocket. And so if the Commanders are able to get to Justin, that's going to negate the biggest strength on this team. And so I'm not confident in the offensive line. And to me, it's between the offensive line and the run defense, because it's just both are terrible right now. But I like Brian Robinson, but he's a rookie. He obviously hasn't done much in this league. If we were playing a guy like a Derrick Henry, a solidified RB1, I think I'd feel much more concerned. And Antonio Gibson, we know he's had the fumbling issues, so we'll see how that happens. But yeah, to me, that's probably why I'll go offensive line over the run defense, just because I feel like the Commanders' pass game is better than their run game.
Yeah, we don't really feature a dominant run game. I don't think our offensive line is really geared towards run blocking necessarily. They've had their moments this season, but our play caller is as inconsistent as it gets. And so we may not be able to take advantage of the glaring weakness that you've presented with this Bears defense. So here's the moment of truth. Week 6, Thursday night, 8:15, Amazon Prime. Bears at home hosting the Commanders. They've got on their orange helmets for the first time. What says you, Faz? What's going to happen in this game in Week 6?
Louis, I've thought long and hard about this, and I got to tell you, man, I do respect the Commanders team. I think they'll put up a great fight. Carson Wentz is going to have probably a solid game in this one, just because, again, the Bears defense isn't great right now. But just because of the home field advantage, I'll lean Bears. Close game, 24-21. Bears win Thursday night.
All right, you heard it here first. I want to thank my guy Faz for coming on the show behind enemy lines. Check out his channel, FaizSportsTalk Sports. Tell the people where they can find all of your work.
Yeah, so on YouTube as well, Instagram, all the same handle. Louis can obviously put in the description for you guys right here, FaizSportsTalk. So thank you guys so much. And Louis, appreciate for having me on, man.
Hey, no doubt. Thank you for thank you for coming on. I really, truly do appreciate you. Guys, as always, Faz, I wish you nothing but the best of luck the remainder of the season, except for Thursday. Thanks for coming behind enemy lines. Thursday night football, Commanders, Bears. Bart Scott. Can't wait. I want to thank Faiz for coming on the show, going behind enemy lines with us, and blessing the program. It's going to be a tough game. I still haven't really decided in my mind what I'm going to do in terms of a prediction. I'm kind of leaning towards one direction. I will give you my prediction and the keys to the game tomorrow. It'll be a brief video. Obviously, the game is tomorrow, so I don't want to hold you up with that. It'll be early on in the day. You'll have a chance to digest it, consume it. You'll have a chance to give me your prediction as to what you think is going to occur, a score and more, if you will. And so we'll all have that present way before the game starts. But I'm still kind of going back and forth. Faz made a bunch of good points. I've been watching the Bears from afar, obviously. And so I can see the growth with that team. They're not more talented than us, but neither were the Tennessee Titans. And you saw what ultimately happened in that game. We sometimes are our own worst enemy. So it's on the road. The Titans game was at home. We actually had a crowd that was, more burgundy and gold than anything else because the Titans didn't travel well to DC. Clearly, the Bears are one of those teams. They're historic. You're not going to infiltrate their stadium and take over for the most part. Bears fans are loyal. And so I expect that to be a very loud and raucous crowd. Like I mentioned several times in the video, they're going to have on their orange helmets for the first time. That's going to have the crowd fired and juiced up, similar to Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football when they wore their all whites with the white helmet. And I heard several occasions the commentators for that game. I want to say it was Al Michaels. I think it was a Thursday night. So it was Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. And they said, this scene is as loud as it gets. And they've been, look, Kirk Herbstreit has done games at Happy Valley with 110,000 people in the stands, Michigan. And he's like, look, this is one of the loudest environments I've ever heard. So that's what I'm expecting from Chicago. It's not going to be exactly the same. They didn't go to the Super Bowl like the Bengals did last year, so it's not going to be as much hype, but they're going to be excited to see their team in some different helmets on a Thursday night. The Bears aren't getting any more primetime games after this. They're one and done. This will be their second one. They're done after this. They had the Green Bay game, which is they always get a Green Bay game on primetime television. This is their Thursday night game. Sometimes they package Green Bay up and the Thursday night in the same week if the Bears really suck. And so because they got Justin Fields, they gave them an extra bone to chew on. Maybe there'll be a Monday night game down the road for them, but they're not going to get a ton of primetime exposure. So I expect it to be a raucous crowd. It'll be interesting to see what Washington does and how they handle the environment. But that being said, let's get to the comment section. It's social media maneuvers. And I'm going to get to you guys' comments, see what you have to say. And so we kick the night off with Amar 2 times official. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Amar writes, I want to see Forrest at free safety next week when Green Bay comes in. I honestly would love to see Forrest and Cam Curl be your two starting safeties and not reduce Derek Forrest to just, when we go to our Buffalo nickel or we decide to have three safeties on the field, now you get in the game. I would like to see Forrest take over as the starting free safety from Bobby McCain. But again, I think that if you do that, the only way I think they would feel comfortable doing that is if Percy Butler were ready to play. Because I think you lose something if you just stick Derek Forrest at free safety. I think you lose something when you take Derek Forrest away from that chess piece player. So I don't know if they're going to do that, but I feel like you. I want more Derek Forrest, not less. I want more Defoe, not less. I think he's earned the right to play more and more and more. And so we'll see what they decide to do. I won't put anything on this staff in terms of them making a decision about a guy. And like, again, Bobby McCain isn't terrible and he's a veteran, a respected one in the locker room. I don't see them ruffling any feathers. And honestly, while that isn't completely fixed, it's not completely broken either. But I too would like to see more Defoe. I'm in that same boat with you. HTTR Carson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, been a Skins fan since RG3 Kirk days. So my suffering is nothing against what y'all have endured for much longer. Not from DC, just like RG3. Why? Why? I mean, he was very polarizing, and he captivated us all when he first got to Washington. I mean, from day one, his charisma and his spunk and everything that he brought to the table, man, the dude seemed like he was going to be the perfect fit and exactly what we've been looking for in Washington for decades. And we thought we had found our quarterback for the next 10 to 12 years. And it was a sad state of affairs because you can't miss what you've never had. And so if we never got that 2012 season, I don't think the Robert Griffin III experience would have been as traumatic as it ended up being. But because we were tantalized with the 2012 season and what he could have been had he just acquiesced to what the Shanahans wanted him to do and continued to grow at the rate of what they thought would be acceptable for his skill set and where he was in his maturation process, then who knows what that could have been and what that could have turned into. But Robert, and his dad decided that they didn't want to do certain things, and he got injured. Obviously, that didn't help, but it turned into a mess, and it was really frustrating. Just seeing that thing crumble as quickly as it rose, it fell even faster. So, there's a lot of fans that are still upset about that. I thought we saw his true colors, at the tail end of 2012 into 2013. By 2014, I was done with Rob. I was done with Robert. So there's still some fans like Metaphor to this day will argue you down that, Robert deserved a chance and that we were wrong about him and he wasn't selfish and this, that, and the third. And there are a lot of people out there like that really, still believe that he got a raw deal here in Washington. And look, the Shanahans weren't innocent in all of this. I don't want to make it out to be like Robert was the sole cause of everything crumbling in Washington during his tenure here. He was a huge part of the reason why things didn't work. But again, it all starts at the top with the owner. That's who emboldened Robert with the power to tell the Shanahans what he was and wasn't going to do. So anyway, yes, our suffering has been much longer than yours. You're actually blessed to have not been suffering for as long as we have. But it's all the same. Once you get into this and you care, it's all the same. It all starts to bleed together, and your suffering is our suffering, and it's all one and the same. But to your point, the person that suffered for 30 years has a lot more anguish, a lot more pent-up frustration, and a lot less patience than someone that's only been, frustrated and struggling as a fan for a decade. So clearly, the two are not the same, but at the same time, they are the same. If that makes any sense. Thank you for the super chat, HTTR Carson. Amar, 2 times official. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I think we can turn it around. Get West back. LT, Chase, John, B-Rob, get stronger, Larson. But the way our D-line is playing, then add Chase, we could really get going defensively and start seeing turnovers. I will say this. The game against Tennessee reminded me of the first preseason game this year against Carolina, where I thought our defensive line was dominant. And I told you guys that. Even though they were converting third downs on that first possession, they were manhandling guys up front. That Tennessee game was one of the best performances from a pass rushing standpoint. I thought they left some meat on the bone, in the run game, especially in the first half. I thought the second half, when they made the adjustment, and I talked about this on the film study, they made the adjustment right out of halftime. They didn't waste any time. They honestly should have gone to it in the first half. I don't know why they waited till halftime to make the adjustment, but they adjusted and went to the 5-man defensive front, and they shut that Derrick Henry shit down. They knew what they were going up against. I don't know why they didn't just start the game with that 5-man defensive front. They knew Derrick Henry was going to be the focal point of that offense, and he was going to be a problem. And the minute that they felt like, okay, Tennessee's going to try to get into a big formation, 12 personnel, 13 personnel, and they're going to try to run it, or 21 personnel, like that's when they should have gotten into that 5-man defensive front. In the second half, they didn't waste any time. You know, they would come out on first downs in that 5-man defensive front or that bear front, defensive front, that bear look. Your favorite guy was on the field during those formations for the most part because there was no David Mayo. There was a lot of John Boom Bostic in the game, but the D-line was the story last week. Montez Sweat easily could have had 4 or 5 sacks in that game. Had 2. F.A. Obata had a sack. He was tremendous in the game. Jonathan Allen was a man possessed. Like literally, John Allen was an anchor in that game. He was just constantly pressuring Ryan Tannehill. Their offensive line looked so soft. We were just running over those guys. We were running around those guys. They were terrible, which again makes me so angry that we gave up 21 points. We had no business giving up. The way we dominated up front, we had no business giving up 21 points. So frustrating. To your point, defensively, I could see them getting it even better. I could. But they're not going to play Tennessee every week. And the offense still has to show up. The defense can play lights out ball, and we could still lose games because they're not holding up their end of the bargain. The offense is going to have to play better. They're going to have to score points. They're going to have to sustain offense. They're going to have to flat out be better. They haven't been good enough. Let's see. Washington, take command, HTTC. Stand up. You are officially the newest member of the MOBB. So glad to have you on board. Mob, you know what to do. Show Washington, take command, HTTC some love. Welcome to the squad. Washington, take command, HTTC. All right. Let's see. Mutib Khan, stand up. You are officially the newest member of the MOBB. Just couldn't let Washington take command, HTTC, have that distinction and moniker for very long, huh? Snatched the rate from him. You are now the newest member of the MOBB. Come on in. Mob, you know what to do. Show Mutib Khan some love. Greatly appreciate you. Mutib Khan, welcome to the squad. I feel like you've already been a member, and maybe you just upgraded. Doesn't matter. Whatever the case may be, welcome home. All right. Let's see. Michael White, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Michael White writes, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Mike writes, okay, Lou, if the team gets a win tomorrow, does that give you hope, or do you think it's fool's gold for the season going forward? Anything is possible when you win a game. All right. Even with the win, because it's not good. If we win on Thursday, it's not going to be decisive. It's going to be 20-16. It's going to be, 23-20. It's going to be 19-13. It's going to be something along those lines. So if we win, it's not going to be in convincing fashion. And it doesn't have to be. It just needs to be one more point than the Bears, whatever it is. It can be 7-6. Okay. It just needs to be one more point than the Chicago Bears. That said, anything's possible, because I've said this numerous times. At some point this season, and because I keep saying this and I'm expecting it, that's probably the reason it's not going to happen. But the first 2 years of Ron, we've gotten a 4-game win streak in each of those seasons. So that, which has led me to believe that there's a 4-game winning streak at some point coming this season. One win could be the start of a 4-game winning streak, or one win could just be one win. And then we go home for Green Bay next week and get our brains bashed in. I said all of that to say this. A win will go a long way in changing how we feel about the team and what it could be, especially if we look impressive in doing so. Because teams don't stay static in this league. Either you get better or you get worse. It usually doesn't stay the same. I mean, if you suck and you've sucked from week 1 to week 18, there's usually levels of suck, right? Where, man, they were close in that game. Damn, they didn't even show up this week. So teams generally aren't static in this league. All right. So the prevailing thought is Ron's teams traditionally start slow and get better as the year progresses. And my thing has always been, look, if we could just not start ridiculously slow, which is that ship is already sailed. We started 1-4. Okay. That was what we were trying to guard against. If we could just find a way to win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 2, win 1, you're 3-3. right? Like that's what I was aiming for. Not start 1-4 and then win 4 in a row. And now you're just because of winning 4 in a row, you're 5-4, but you're barely over 500. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I was trying to avoid. Because in order for us to dig ourselves out of this hole, we're going to have to win more than we lose. And that's going to require some level of consistency, which seems to be evading us at this current juncture. That means you're going to have to win 2 out of 3, then another 2 out of 3, and you're still not over 500 at that point. You know, you're just gaining ground in the win column, but you're still trailing in the loss column, right? The only way you're going to catch up is you start winning without losing, because you've dug yourself such a deep hole now at 1-4. 1-3 was still doable because, as I just mentioned, you can win 2 out of 3 and you're knocking on the door of 500. You win 2 out of 3 at 1-3, you'd be 3-4. But you win 2 out of 3 sitting at 1-4 and you're still 3-5. You still got an uphill battle to climb. So winning a game against the Bears, who aren't a very good team, wouldn't do that much to my psyche. I'm still like, okay, that was Chicago. There's Green Bay. Do it again. That would be my mindset. But I honestly, anything can happen. This league is crazy. I talked about this on my podcast. The Cowboys a month ago, which was after week 1, we were heading into week 2 a month ago. This time, a month ago, we thought their season was done. They got damn near shut out by the Buccaneers. They looked lousy on offense. They lost 19-3, and they lost their quarterback for the foreseeable future. I talked to Boss. That's my dad, Cowboys fan. And first thing he says to me is, I said, your season's done. I said that to him. Your season's done, huh? And he's like, yeah, man, this shit's done, man. And he sounded dejected, like, damn, season just started, shit's already over. And now you fast forward a month, and he's probably talking reckless, like, hey, man, this is a Super Bowl team. That's what Cowboy fans do. My dad is not delusional, so I don't think he's talking that way, but he's probably thinking, shit, this is a Super Bowl defense. He wouldn't be wrong in thinking that either. And he's watched all this football, and he's watching what's transpiring around the NFC in particular, and he's saying, shit, we could beat any of these damn teams. And he's not wrong again. Who would have thought that about the Cowboys a month ago, after they got drubbed at home by the Buccaneers and only put up 3 points and lost Dak Prescott for the next, month and a half or so? Who would have thought that was going to be the case? So this league changes so quickly. It really does. Anything can happen, but you got to win. That's the bottom line. You got to win. All right. So I've been going back and forth as to how to say this. Is it K West Beats or is it Quest Beats? Don't really know. I'm just going to say that it's Quest Beats since you put it together. All right. Stand up. You are officially the newest member of the MOBB. Really do appreciate you, Quest Beats. Mob, you know what to do. Show Quest mad love. Welcome in with open arms to the best, most loyal base in the universe. The Mob Squad. Y'all know what it is. Stand up. We in the building. Welcome to the squad. Quest Beats. All right. Got a super here from Cashmere Carter. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Cashmere Whites. Can we see Heineke tomorrow night in Chicago? Anything is possible. Okay. You're one play away from seeing Heineke every single week. So if you're asking me from a performance standpoint, absolutely not. You're not seeing Heineke anytime soon, if at all this season, due to performance. But you're definitely not seeing him tomorrow night due to performance. Wentz is arguably coming off of his best performance of the season. If Wentz throws a touchdown pass in one of those 3 downs and beats the Titans, it's his best game to date. He didn't turn it over. He threw the deep ball effectively. He was sharp. He threw for well over 300 yards, high completion percentage. It would have been his best performance to date as a member of the Commanders. But of course, he didn't complete the pass at the end, threw a pick instead. And so that's what you're going to remember because it's the last thing that happened. So he's not even close to being benched for performance. So if you're asking me from a performance standpoint, absolutely not. We're not even remotely close to that. If you're talking about just in general, every backup quarterback is one snap away from being in the game. So yeah, you could see Heineke tomorrow without a doubt, but let's hope that that's not the case. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, King of the North, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, Carson 6-0 on Thursday Night Football and 3-0 versus the Bears. I don't put a lot of stock into that, but there is some validity to some numbers sometimes. You know, like I was talking about this on the podcast. The Jags have lost to the Texans 8 times in a row. There's validity to that. They haven't beaten the Texans since 2017. There's a psychological edge that the Texans have. You don't think the Jaguars players, even the ones that weren't a part of any of those 8 losses, you don't think they know that? You don't think they've heard that? Excuse me, of course they do. Of course they've heard it. There's a psychological edge that goes into play there. You don't think the fact that the 49ers have beaten the Rams 7 out of the last 8 games and the only loss was the NFC Championship game, you don't think that 7 straight regular season matchups going in the favor of the 49ers makes a difference? You're damn right it does. If you don't think so, you're crazy. So when I saw the little graphic, Carson Wentz is winless against the Tennessee Titans, and he got swept by the Titans last year as a member of the Colts. I said, And he had played Tennessee before when he was in Philadelphia. I said, I don't really like that stat, but let's change it. This is supposed to be change the narrative. This is what the theme of the season is supposed to be, which we haven't changed shit yet. We're sticking straight to the script. All right. A wise man once told me, money over bitches, man, stick to the script. That's what we're doing. We're sticking to the script. All right. We ain't changing no narratives. If you think we suck, we're keeping it even on that narrative. Yep, we still stink. If you're talking about Ron Rivera getting off the slow starts, yep, we 1-4. We keeping that shit a copacetic. We staying on the straight and narrow. We ain't interrupting no flows. Everything is the same. Okay, we ain't changing no narratives over here. Wentz is still Wentz. He's up, he's down. It's a roller coaster. Ain't shit change over here. So why change this narrative? All the other narratives have remained the same. Why not keep this narrative right where it's at? He's undefeated on Thursday night. Let's keep it that way. He's undefeated against the Chicago Bears. Let's keep it that way. I'm all for it. Shit, ain't no other narratives changing. Why does this one have to? Let's hope that comes to fruition. And he adds one more in the left-hand column to both of those statistics. Sonny Rawson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I don't know if you said this, but where's Chris Paul? Why? I mean, he can't be possibly any worse than Norwell and Turner. I'm disgusted with our interior line play. Sonny, it's a great question. Clearly, once you get into the season, they're not giving reps to guys who they don't intend to start. It's not like training camp where you've got all this extra time on your hands and you can swap guys in and out of the lineup during practice. You're trying to give your starters as many reps as possible. One of the knocks that Ron continues to bring up with this offense in particular is the lack of continuity up front with the offensive line. In his mind, they'll get better in time with more reps and more opportunities to play with one another because we've had so many changes, whether it's been Trey Turner out or it's the 3 different centers already in this young season. Wes Schweitzer in, Sadiq Charles in, Sam Cosmi out, enter in Cornelius Lucas. We've had all these changes on the offensive line. 5 guys haven't been able to play together consistently. And so I don't think you're going to see them swap out Andrew Norwell quite yet. even though I believe it's time. I said it the week before they got rid of Trey Turner in the lineup. I said, Trey Turner can't move. They have to get him out of there. And finally, they saw what I saw, and they got him out of there in the Dallas game. I'm not saying that Andrew Norwell can't move. I'm just telling you he's getting his ass handed to him on a regular basis, and it's starting to become a problem. He's single-handedly destroying drives, from holding penalties to getting beat and plowed over to sacks to even when he doesn't necessarily give up a sack, but he gives up a pressure. It's forcing Carson to panic because he's seeing a flash of color that is not his own, and he's pulling the ball down and he's missing opportunities to push the football down the field. Norwell is crippling this offense single-handedly. They have to do something. We'll see. While we say it can't get worse, it can get worse. Trust me. You know, it can get worse. But I'd like to see what we have. But I've already made that statement abundantly clear. I appreciate y'all letting me know that the sound wasn't on for the behind enemy lines. It automatically comes on with no sound, which is stupid, but whatever. I appreciate y'all letting me know because I damn sure didn't know. Sonny Rawson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Sonny, who writes, will be nice to enjoy my Sunday for a change. This Kool-Aid hangover is kicking my ass, Lou. Much love. Keep up the good work. Hashtag mob holding it down. Sonny, you ain't never lied, my man. Sunday is going to be so sweet. I'm just going to kick back. I'm actually going to see my parents and my sisters and my family, and I'm going to watch football games with them. I don't get to do that anymore. That used to be a pastime where every Sunday we'd go to my mom and dad's, the whole family would congregate, we would eat dinner, we would watch all the games, but I'm a working man now. So I can't do that anymore. And so I do miss it, right? But I also enjoy my time with you guys. But I do miss, being around family. And that's why I love Thanksgiving so much. You guys know this. If you don't, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. And that's part of the reason why, because you get all the F's, right? Family, food, friends, fellowship, and football. And if you want to throw faith in there for some of you, faith as well. You get all of those things wrapped up in one day, one weekend, really. That's a weekend-long celebration for me. But I miss doing that on Sundays. I'm going to have an opportunity to do that this Sunday. So I'm looking forward to it. And it's a stress-free Sunday. I don't get those. My Thursday will be a lot more stressful, right? But it's Thursday. It's a part of the weekday. It's fine. It just blends in with the rest of the week. Sunday is going to be a stress-free day. And I am looking forward to it. I'm going to just enjoy Chiefs and Bills and all the rest of the games. And then the beauty of it is there's no Cowboys game, nothing hogging up the screen. They play on Monday night or Sunday night, actually, against Dallas. That should be a dandy of a ball game. Bart Scott, can't wait. What a weekend it's going to be. It'd be nice if we get a win on Thursday. It'd make the rest of the week and the weekend so much better. If we lose, the season's officially over, right? Like right now, it's on life support. And I said this already. It's on life support. It's on a breathing machine, okay? It's breathing with the assistance of a machine. You lose, and as a fan base, collectively, we come together and we make the decision to pull the plug on the season. It's over. And at that point, now that's when you get into, hey, come on, what are we waiting on? Let's start figuring out a path to Sam, Howell getting in and playing the string out of the season. We're not going to, even with this loss, if it happens, that's not going to happen. Ron's not going to stick Sam Howell in against Green Bay in week number 7. That's not going to happen, I think, and I've said this already, because of the late bye. That is the perfect time to then make a transition to Sam Howell if you're going to do it. and let him finish up the season and play the final 4 games or whatever it is. I think it's Giants, 49ers, Browns, and then Cowboys to finish up. And I think you just let him play those 4 games and then you go about your business. Maybe 5 games. Nope, it's 15, 16, 17, 18. I said that right. Yeah, it's 49ers. It's the Giants, the 49ers, the Browns, and then the Cowboys. So I don't think you see Sam Howell until then. If the season goes off the rails. We don't have to have that conversation if we win tomorrow night. But if we lose, that conversation becomes very prevalent. And that's going to be a weekly discussion amongst the fan base. Hey, when do we see Sam Howell? When do we see Sam Howell? When do we see Sam Howell? Because the competitive portion of the schedule is done. All right. Enigma RJ, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Enigma RJ writes, "Sup, Lou? I'm disappointed about the loss. However, I believe this hurtful loss was necessary. Now we get to see this team under some real pressure." I mean, that's a positive spin. And whatever you got to tell yourself, Enigma, to feel better, knock yourself out. I'll never deter you. And I'll never, try to convince you otherwise. I'll just say, if you weren't already pissed off after 2 straight divisional losses and falling to 1-3 on the season, seeing the rest of the division at 4-0 and 3-1, if that wasn't enough to get you fired up to go out and beat Tennessee, I don't know what else needs to be done. Falling to 1-4, I can tell you this: Jonathan Allen said that this was a must-win game. And you rarely hear a player say that, especially a guy like Jonathan Allen. He usually doesn't give you much to chew on, but he's like, it's a must-win game. And, the media was loving that. Oh, why do you say that, Jonathan? Why do you say that? He's like, shit, we 1-4. I ain't seen too many 1-5 teams turn it around and do anything of note. Have you? No, they don't. 1-5 teams don't, lift themselves from the abyss unless it's 2020 and the rest of the division stinks and you end up winning it at 7-9. That's the only way 1-5 turns it around and ultimately, leads to something of substance. Newsflash, this division's really good right now. And so you're not going to be 1-5 and end up catching anybody in this division. Hell, I don't think you're catching anybody right now as we sit here at 1-4, no matter what happens. But you're not dead yet. Again, you're on life support. And we're praying for a miracle. So we'll see what happens. This is as much pressure as you can have early in the season. Aside from starting the season 0-2, no one wants to start the season 0-2, but if you fall to 0-3, you're dead. So we were never in that predicament this year. We were in that predicament last year where we were 0-1 and we was like, we can't go to 0-2 because if you 0-2, you're 0-3 because you're not going to Buffalo and winning in week 3. So the pressure was on to beat the Giants last year on Thursday night in week 2. I think we're at that point now where we were last year on Thursday night against the Giants, where, look, we got to find a way to win this game, man. There's no more, margin for error. You lose this game and it's a wrap. And just think about the 5 losses, right? Cowboys and the Eagles, okay, you can take those on the chin. Quality opponents. Their combined record is 9-1 right now, so you're not tripping. But think about the losses. You lost to Detroit. You lost to Tennessee. You lost to Chicago. All right. Understand that none of these teams were above 500 when you played them. Not a single one. Tennessee was at 500. The Lions were under 500. And the Bears are under 500. If you can't find a way to start winning some of these games, again, what are we talking about here? Because the crazy part is a lot of the division hasn't played the teams that we've played already. Okay. The Giants are the only team in the division that's gotten to sink their teeth into some winnable football games against teams that ultimately stink. in Carolina, Chicago, and Tennessee. All right. But they proved their worth on Sunday when they beat Green Bay over in London. They proved that they're not out here just shucking and jiving, right? Like they're not just, treading water until the real teams come up on the schedule and then they'll start losing games. Now, that's over with. They're legit. But Dallas hasn't seen a Detroit yet. They don't know what that looks like. They haven't sunk their teeth into Detroit. Do you know what that defense is going to do to Detroit and Jared Goff? Do you know what that defense is going to do? Even if the offense is still tripping and struggling, you know what they're going to do to Justin Fields? Justin Fields has been sacked 18 times this season. Okay? He's up there around the most sacked quarterback in the league. That offensive line sucks. Dallas hasn't sunk their teeth into them yet. The Eagles haven't sunk their teeth into them yet. There's a lot of winnable football games left on the schedule of the Cowboys and the Eagles. We've gotten the part of the schedule, and look, our entire schedule is doable. They spread our shit out, but they gave us a chance early to get off to a start, and we effed it up. Let's see. Aaron Carson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Aaron Carson, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, writes, being a Commanders fan in Chicago, we got to win this game or I'll never hear the end of it from these Bears fans who know their team stinks. 28-20 win. Your mindset is one of desperation. You can't stand to be in an environment that will not allow this game to go away even a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months from now. You'll keep hearing about this as a Washington fan, right? So your plea is out of desperation. Please don't subject me to this for an entire year. And who knows when we play the Bears again. But please don't subject me to this. I got to hear this from a team and a fan base that knows that this Bears team is not good right now. So we shouldn't be beating you. That said, the only thing that I'll disagree with is your score. I think 28 points for an offense that hasn't scored 20 points since week 2, right? 8 against the Eagles, 10 against the Cowboys, 17. They're trending in the right direction to make it to 20, right? 8, 10, 17. They're moving in the right direction, but team hasn't seen a score with the 2 in the front since week 2. So you're asking them to tie the most points that they've scored this season, which was week 1 against Jacksonville, against a Bears defense that isn't great, but it's not lousy either. So, I don't know, 28's a pretty big number for an offense that's struggling to score right now. But I hope they win for your sake, whatever the score may be. Hope they get it done for you, man. That's a tough existence if they don't get it done. Dory Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Dory Gunner, writes, Carson is far down our list of issues. D can't take the ball away. O-line stinks. OC stinks. Head coach stinks. Linebackers and cornerbacks stink. Don't run the ball either. Wow, that's a lot of stinks. Let's go through this real quick. D can't take the ball away. That is one of my biggest pet peeves to date, is the inability, one, for us to take care of the ball. We still haven't had a clean ball game. We were on our way against the Titans of having a clean ball game with no turnovers. And on the very last play of the game, that went to hell in a handbasket. I mean, even if we go 4 and out there and he doesn't throw a pick, it's just incomplete. It's a clean game at least. Couldn't even get that. Add injury to insult, or insult to injury, rather. So taking the ball away is a separate entity. We can't even protect the ball and not turn it over for a full 60 minutes. I don't even want to talk about the lack of turnovers. I've been bitching about that since week 3. Okay. We got one in week 1, and that was at the very end of that game, but I was ecstatic when we got it because it pretty much sealed the deal. We didn't get one against Detroit, which was frustrating, but okay, you're not going to get a turnover every game. Week 3 against Philadelphia, I was like, all right, we need a turnover this week. And Hurts was trying his best to give us one. He gave us 3 different opportunities in the game to pick him off. And we said, thanks, but no thanks, man. You're trying to have an MVP bid. If you're throwing interceptions to the likes of the Commanders, you're not going to win the MVP, my guy. Go ahead and give it your best shot. He's not going to win the MVP, but he's throwing his name in the hat. Can't be throwing picks to the Commanders. So we didn't pick him off. We did him a favor. The next week against Dallas, Cooper Rush tried his best. He threw two of them to us, and we couldn't keep our hands to ourselves. So flags were being thrown. They were being thrown at a ridiculously high rate on us and a very low rate on the Cowboys. So it was one of those games where you weren't going to win that battle. So they took the 2 interceptions that we actually did force away, and it kept us in the doghouse. And then Tennessee, we tried to force Ryan Tannehill into a mistake. He almost threw us a pick. He decided better of it and then ended up throwing a 61-yard bomb to Nick Westbrook-Akina, but he was about to throw a pick 6 potentially to Kendall Fuller, or as you guys like to call him, Bake Ziti. He did a masterful job of reading the quarterback's eyes and gave himself a chance. And unfortunately, Tannehill saw the savvy corner out there and decided, I'm not going to throw that. Oh, shit. Got a receiver one-on-one down the field with the safety. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to give my guy a chance. And we all know how that turned out. And he fumbled like twice in the game, but he fell on both of them. So the very first play of the game, when Tez took the tight end and rammed him right into Tannehill, he fumbled on that play. But we weren't even close to getting any of those, right? So 1 turnover in 5 weeks. Yikes. We've got to be the worst turnover team in the league. We got to be the worst at taking the football away. I can't imagine anyone having 0 turnovers on the season. Nobody's got just 1 other than us. You get lucky just being in the right place at the right time. You get lucky and a ball gets batted in the air and you pick it off. Or somebody fumbles and, you think the offense is dove back on the football, but it squirts out and, oh, shit, look what I found. We don't even get those because we don't even force fumbles. O-line stinks. It's better, but there's still some issues. OC stinks. He doesn't stink. He just lacks situational awareness, which really ultimately hurts us in some of the biggest moments of the game. Head coach stinks. Again, he doesn't stink. I think he's old. And I think some of the things that we are looking to him for, he isn't providing us. And we know what he is as a coach now. He's a solid NFL head coach, a leader of men. But, his game management, clock management, when to use timeouts, when to use challenges, he's lacking in that department. And then the linebackers and the cornerbacks stink. I don't agree with that statement. I think the linebackers are getting better and better each and every single week. Cole Holcomb is stacking good performances on top of each other. I thought he was really good. I would argue that the Titans game was his best game. I thought Jamin Davis's best performance was against the Dallas Cowboys. So they're trending in the right direction. I thought both of them were really good against the Eagles. I want to see them continue to grow in the pass game, but the cornerbacks are the issue. I do think they stink. I do think that position as a whole isn't very good. It's not deep, and the quality isn't all that great either. So, yeah. And they don't run the football, and they definitely didn't run it against the Titans. It was really pathetic, actually. Red Wing 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I 100% agree Scott has gotten less creative since 2020. Doesn't manufacture touches. The goal line plays made me realize how vanilla this offense is. I really, it's funny because, I went back and I watched a little bit of the 2020 stuff. This is like right before the season started. I watched a little bit of the 2020 stuff. Don't ask me why. I think it just I think I was on Facebook and, somebody put up a post of some of the clips from 2020 and it piqued my interest. Anyway, he was way more creative in 2020 because he had less, so he had to be creative. I told you guys, this tight end in motion under center quarterback sneak, that was Scott Turner first. He did that back in 2020 with Logan Thomas against the Steelers. We did it again against the 49ers. Like, he did that first. Everybody's giving the Chiefs credit because, yes, the Chiefs are very innovative, and every week they come up with some new shit that I've never seen before. But that wasn't them. But again, I'm not clamoring for credit. I'm just talking about, and that speaks to his creativity back in 2020. We haven't seen anything that resembles creativity in 2022 with more weapons. Feels like now he's just like, I can run basic shit because I got dudes that should be able to win one-on-one matchups. I don't need to be super creative anymore. I was so disappointed in the amount of touches that Antonio Gibson had in this game. It's almost like they forgot he was even on the roster. They got so enamored with Brian Robinson being back that Antonio Gibson was a forgotten man. It was cringeworthy. He was reduced to catching checkdowns and a couple of handoffs. I don't know if he had any more than 3 carries in the game. I'm curious now. I'm going to look. I think he had 3 carries and maybe another 3 or 4 catches in the ball game. It was pathetic. Gibson in the game had 3 rushes for 6 yards. I can remember all 3 of the runs. And he had 3 catches. I said it perfectly, 3 and 3. Like, that's what Antonio Gibson was, your starting running back. In no game up until week 5 when Brian Robinson was back, in no game did he have less than 15 touches. Less than 15. He would run it at a bare minimum of 11 or 12 times, and he'd catch it 4 or 5 times out of the backfield. And all of a sudden, Brian Robinson shows up, and Antonio Gibson gets 6 touches? Are you effing kidding me? You got to be losing your damn mind. We got talent. We don't have that much talent where Antonio Gibson no longer is a part of this offense. And I heard him say something, and I'm like, duh. He's like, I feel so good. This is the best I've ever felt through 5 weeks in an NFL season. Yeah, that's because in your rookie season, you were a bell cow. They gave it to you until you started vomiting carries. Last year, same deal. You were the lead dog. There was no other back. It was just JD. And so you were taking all of the first and second down reps, some of the third down reps. They were throwing it to you, all that good stuff, especially in year 1. This year, it's hit or miss. They don't know what the hell they want to do. They got Carson throwing the bitch 45 times a game. Like, that's what he was brought here to do. Some days they forget about the run game altogether, like against Tennessee. That was pathetic how many times they ran the football. At one point, it just seemed like they were like, to hell with it. We'll just throw it. And it was working. But you got to be able to – Carson can't be throwing it 40 times every week. That's a losing recipe. I'm just disgusted with the usage of Antonio Gibson. And it's only going to get worse, I think, as Robinson becomes more and more, acclimated to, getting back into the swing of things. Now, I do like the fact that Gibson will be back on kickoffs on Thursday night, but that's still not a part of the offense. He's gotten, to me, a lot less creative. Alex Kurz, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Alex, writes, hey, Lou, what's up, Alex? Feels like it's been a little while. He says, going to Chicago for the game. Go, Alex. You know what to do. Bring home the dub. You know what to do. It was my one destination choice for the year. Was excited when I got the tickets before the season started. Still excited for this trip. Hoping to witness these guys putting it together. I hope so too. You know what I'd like to hear from you, Alex, is what kind of representation does the Commanders have in Washington? I feel like that stadium is going to be full of Bears fans and not a ton. It'll be a sprinkle of Commanders fans here, sprinkle there, but I don't think it's going to be a ton of them there. I'd love to hear from you in the aftermath of this game. How many Washington fans were in the stands? That'd be nice to hear. Because I know a lot of times when we go on the road, Washington, they have a great contingency in other locales. They travel well in certain places. So I'd love to know what that's like in Chicago. Go Alex. Find a way to get it done, my man. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Red Wings 01, who writes, after watching the All-22s, Norwell and Nick Martin are even worse than I thought. And as much grief as I give Scott, Carson missed many opportunities. Yes, he did. I was, and honestly, again, if we would have won the game, Carson would have been praised. We would have talked about, wow, this is by far and away his best performance as a Commander. And after watching the film, I still would have walked away saying, bro, you left maybe 120 more yards of offense and another 10 to 14 points out on the field with your chicanery. With you misdiagnosing coverage pre-snap, not going through your progressions. And again, some of this is due to the abuse that he took in the first, 4 weeks of the season, specifically the last 3. You'd be a damn fool to think that there isn't some kind of residual effect from the last 3 weeks prior to the Titans game. Like there's still a little bit of no, don't hit me. And so any pressure, instead of him stepping up in the pocket, resetting his feet, standing tall and delivering the football, he's looking to get out of there now. Or he's looking to get it to the check down. I don't want to take another sack. I'll get it to the check down. And he missed out on opportunities and chunk plays down the field because he's like, oh, I read front side. I'm not even going to look backside because somebody's going to hit me. I'm getting into the check down right now. And Terry's wide ass open. And you're like, bro, Diami's wide ass open. That's a 30-yard gain if you get it to Diami. You checked it down to Antonio Gibson for a gain of 13. Hey, he got the first down, but we could have eaten up a third of the field just now if you throw this to Diami Brown. And you had time, and there was no imminent pressure. But that's what happens psychologically when you get battered and bruised in the first 4 weeks of the season. You start speeding that internal clock up. I don't have time to go through all my progressions. I read front side. I don't like what I see. Check down. Yeah, and as far as Nick Martin and Norwell are concerned, Nick Martin, the snaps were just as bad as it was from Wes in his lone game as the center against the Eagles. Carson was charged with 3 fumbles in the game, all from snaps. One he had to pick up and run. Another one, he snapped into Curtis Samuel. It ended up being a penalty. Another one he snapped. It messed up the timing of the play. I mean, yeah, Nick Martin was terrible from that perspective. And then he got his own dose of medicine up front at times, but nothing like Norwell. Norwell was in a class of his own. He was extremely funky. I mean, he was absolutely cheeks in this game for sure. We give a lot of flack, and rightfully so, to Scott Turner, but there was a lot of meat left on the bone, as I like to say, or as my guy, as a wise man once told me, there's a lot of meat left on the bone. In that particular game. Will Kavanaugh, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Will writes, Lou, calling it now. B-Rob's going to go off tomorrow. 2 touchdowns for him. I think I said this to you guys, but I think I said it in a throwaway line fashion that didn't get enough attention. So I'm going to say this again here. And I brought this up to my wife, and I think I said it to my one of my buddies on the phone as well. And he was like, damn, I didn't even think about that. That would have been crazy. I said, but that's not how shit happens for Washington, because that storybook ending shit. That there's never a storybook ending in Washington, and you're not allowed to have storybook endings in Washington with Daniel Snyder as your owner because of a thing called karma. So you're not allowed to have the storybook ending. That's the type of shit that happens in movies. Could you have imagined? And again, I've said this already, so this shouldn't be the first time you've heard this from me, but I'm going to say it again because I don't think I said it in a passive manner that was as if it was a throwaway line, and so I don't think it resonated. So I'm going to say it again here. Could you imagine if Carson doesn't get picked off on 3rd down and we get a 4th down and goal from the 2, and Turner decides to put Brian Robinson in the game, and he decides to give him one of those inside gun power runs, and he's able to bulldoze his way into the end zone, and we win this game 23-20 over the Titans as time expires, and it's his first game back. He runs out to 50s, many men, and somehow he scores the game-winning touchdown in his first game back. Do you know what kind of a story that would have been? Do you understand how big of a story that would have been? That would have transcended football. That would have been on Good Morning America. Okay, that's how big of a story that would have been. And that would have been one of the leaders. That would have been on Football Night in America. That's what I think it's called, on NBC. That would have been one of the first things they would have been talking about at halftime. And that would have been one of the first things you would have seen on all your little shows in the morning. Can you believe Brian Robinson, 5 months after being shot multiple times, before the season started, or 5 weeks rather, and he's back in action, and in his first NFL game, he scores the game-winning touchdown. Do you know what that would have been like? Do you know how much attention that would have garnered? But of course, in typical Washington fashion, we can't have the storybook ending. We don't get happily ever after, and we damn sure don't get what happens in the movies, okay? We get an interception instead. Go home a loser. Anyway, it'd be nice to see Brian Robinson get off tomorrow. It really would. Ben Hanniger, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, maybe with Scott's back against the wall, he calls his best game of the year, ? This is the problem I have with this staff. How do we know that Scott feels like his back is up against the wall? For all we know, in Scott's mind, he hasn't done anything wrong. In his mind, Carson, and I'm going to be honest with you, those 3 plays down by the goal line, okay, Scott Turner has caught a lot of flack for those 3 plays. I'm guilty of it, and you know what? I don't take any of it back. He should have done a better job of putting our players and our quarterback in a better position to succeed from the 2-yard line. I don't love the play calls. There was never an immediate winner, okay? Not on any of those plays was there a guy where you immediately say, like with Russell Wilson on Thursday Night Football last week against the Colts, where you're like, oh my God, how is that not your first read? Or how do you not look front side, immediately come off of that when you see Stephon Gilmore is blanketing your number 1 receiver and read on the play, Cortland Sutton? How do you not immediately come off, go to the other side of the field, and see a wide open KJ Hamler for an easy walk-in touchdown? How do you not see that? You've got a pick play specifically called to get a guy open. How are you not reading that out? There was never any of that on any of Scott's plays from the 2-yard line. There was never an immediate winner. But on every single one of those plays, there was a winner at some point. And Carson didn't have any pressure. The Titans were dropping 9 at some points where they would rush 2 and drop 9 guys in the end zone. There was no pass rush. And in situations like that, I get it, because you don't have a whole bunch of time. There's 19 seconds. So you don't want to be back there for 8 seconds, bleeding the clock, trying to wait for somebody to get open. But we don't care about the time if you can score a touchdown. Okay? Especially if it's an incomplete pass. It's one thing if you run it and you don't get in. Now the clock's running. You can waste 8 seconds and throw an incompletion. The clock stops. So I don't care about you wasting 8 seconds in the pursuit of a touchdown. But on every single snap, somebody was open. And Carson just panicked and he got rid of the football faster than he needed to. That game ended with like 5 or 6 seconds left. That interception was thrown with like 4 or 5 seconds left. Like the Titans had to take another snap and take a knee. So time wasn't an issue from a passing standpoint. He could have taken an additional 2 or 3 seconds to read out those snaps to make sure nobody was open. But he panicked. So in Scott's, I said all that to say this, in Scott's mind, he might not have done anything wrong. He might not have done anything wrong. So I don't know if there's a, hey, Scott's going to have his best game because his back's against the wall. Who's telling Scott his back is up against the wall? Man just signed an extension over the summer. Where the hell is he going? Nowhere. I don't think he feels like his back is up against the wall, Ben. I don't. Miss Perry, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. That is not Miss Perry. Hold on a second. And I don't even have to do this. Okay, that is Miss Perry. All right. You know I'm on high alert. I'm sorry. Thank you for the super chat. Condo P. Greatly appreciate you. I know luck is lurking. I do know that. You know what? Luck. Take that. Take that. Take that. Take that. Take that. Thank you so much, Condo P, who writes, prepared either way for how this goes tomorrow night. Please like, sub up, and click the notification bell. You guys heard her loud and clear. And so, if you would please, at this moment, take a second to just like the video if you haven't already done that. There are over 430 of you out there and only 100 likes. I know some of you are like, dude, you do this all the time. I'm not going to like your video. Stop asking me. And that's fine. But I'm going to ask anyway. If you haven't already hit the like button, please do so. Sub up if you haven't already done that. And also turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. All right. Thank you for that public service announcement. Let's see. Michael Void. Thank you for the super chat. Or stand up, Michael. You are officially the newest member of the MOBB. Michael, come on in. Mob, you know what to do. Arms wide. Big, gigantic mob hug from Michael Void. We're going to fill that void in your life with love, with mob. All right, mob him. All right, welcome to the squad, Michael Void. All right, Carter S. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Carter writes, are you kidding me? Uh-oh. I don't know where this is going. This whole time you have had me jumping YouTube channel and never told me or auntie. That's crazy, cousin. You could have told me. Okay. We're just going to act like this comment didn't happen. This reeks of luckishness. Moving right along. Let's see. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel writes, sup, Lou? What's up, video channel? What is AG's role now that B-Rob is back in the fold? Could AG be a trade candidate? I'm not looking to trade Antonio Gibson. To me, he's of more value to us than to just give him away. What are you going to get for him? Are you going to get a late round pick for Antonio Gibson? Like, what are you going to get for him? So he's worth more than just a 5th round or a conditional 4th round pick. You know, I don't even think you're getting that. You're getting a late round draft pick for Antonio Gibson at this point of his career. So, no, I'm not trading him. What is his role? Your guess is as good as mine. They told us when the preseason started, we got a glimpse of it in the Kansas City game where he was catching balls out of the backfield. He was returning kickoffs. So I thought he was going to be this dynamic weapon. Well, obviously, B-Rob wasn't 100% back into the fold in week 5 versus Tennessee. That was him just dipping his toe in and kind of getting a feel for what NFL football is like, and him just gaining confidence back in his leg and getting hit. And now I think he's going to be a little bit more confident this week. And then I think you'll really start to see B-Rob really acclimate himself against Green Bay in week 7. That said, I was appalled at how Antonio Gibson was used. And it really feels like Scott Turner struggles with, using all of these weapons. It's a good problem to have, but it's not like this offense is just oozing with weapons everywhere. Like, oh my God, we got weapons. Don't get me wrong. De'Ami Brown just had 105 yards and could have had 200 yards receiving in this game if not for some pressure and Carson not seeing him and a batted ball and all of that good stuff. De'Ami could have had 200 yards receiving in the game. Easy. That's our 4th receiver we're talking about. 5th if you want to put Cam Sims ahead of him. And he went off. So we got weapons, but not to the point where Antonio Gibson still shouldn't be on the field and getting, like, there are ways that you can put these guys on the field. And it's frustrating because we see it. As fans, we see it. How come Scott Turner doesn't? I think his role is supposed to be playmaker. On this play, he's in the slot. On this next play, he's in the backfield. On this play, he motions out wide, one-on-one with a linebacker or one-on-one with the safety, and you're like, I got one-on-one with Antonio Gibson. I'm going to take it. He's supposed to be a weapon. Kickoff return man. Hell, he was even asked about being a punt returner. And he's like, I'm not really comfortable back there, but I fielded some punts in practice, so I feel like I can get no. I don't want anybody back there that's not comfortable. Okay. You just stick to kickoffs. Okay. We'll let Dax Mills stay on punt returns. I'd much rather somebody be back there that's going to catch the football. Okay. So I don't want to go down that road. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, what's more disrespectful than luck constantly getting you? The lack of likes that are on this stream. First of all, I feel like that's a disrespectful statement. Luck does not consistently get me. Okay, it's got me 4 times. 4. All right. I think y'all be chalking up more losses to my record than I do. I'm not standing for it. Okay. But he's right about the lack of likes. It's ridiculous, but I can't control that. What I can control is luck getting my ass. So I'm on top of that. Smash the damn like. It's free. Y'all heard the man. Cherry Squad. Y'all know what it is. Let's see. Super chat here from Randy Butler. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Randy, who writes, what's good, Lou? Finally able to catch a live. Is Eric Flowers on anybody's roster? If not, we should sign him back immediately. I know Ronald won't. I don't think he's on a roster. I can look it up right now and check. But I think we all know the answer. We would have found out because everyone's been saying, Eric Flowers, just like we were saying, put your pride aside and call up, Landon Collins. And reportedly, I saw a tweet today where he's playing linebacker for them. So I'm like, if he was willing to play that Buffalo nickel role, why didn't you just bring him back here? Because we all assumed that he didn't want to play linebacker. Yeah, Eric Flowers is still available. He's a free agent, which I already knew that. Anyway, and you did too. But, hey, what are you going to do? They're not going to – and like you said at the very end, Ronald is not going to bring him back. They're just not going to do it. They're too prideful. They rather go down and have the ship sink with Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell. They rather have this ship sink with ex-Carolina Panther guys that no longer have it than have a guy in there that last year. Look, let's not make Eric Flowers out to be an all-pro guard, okay? He's not Brandon Sheriff. Let's not do that, okay? But he's better than either one of those dudes. Hands down, okay? Not even up for debate. DJ23, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, hey, Lou, I want a dub tomorrow, but mostly can we get some damn turnovers? I'm tired of only having one. If you're going to get one, this is the week with a quarterback in Justin Fields who, look, he doesn't throw it a lot. I think they are going to look at our defense and feel like, oh, we can throw it on their ass. Like they started to open it up a little bit last week. He threw it 21 times. Okay, his career high is 22 pass attempts, which was 2 weeks ago against the Giants. So it's 21, it's 22 and 21 in the last couple of weeks. So they're starting to open it up a little bit more. I think this is the week they cut him loose because they look at our defense and say, oh, shit, everybody's throwing the ball on their ass. Why can't we? And so I think there will be some opportunities for, a fumble from Justin Fields, an interception, but we just don't look to create these opportunities. One thing about fumbles, unless a guy is super sloppy with the handles, you got to look to create a fumble. It's not just going to happen. And we don't look to create them. So even with the sacks of Ryan Tannehill, the guy the Montez Sweat has him wrapped up. And never once did it enter Montez's mind to, let me grab his arm. He can't throw this bitch if I've got his arm wrapped up. He's still trying to pull him down, and Tannehill flings it to the running back. They ultimately score a touchdown on that drive. That's a 3rd down and 6. If you just grab his arm, they got a punt, and there isn't 21 points scored, but rather just 14. Something as simple as that. But we don't look to create those turnovers. It's frustrating. Be nice. Be nice to get some. But I'm not holding my breath. Let's see. I'm sorry, Condo P. I realized it was you. I just had to go back and double check. I'm sorry about that. Luck got me on edge, man. Blame it on luck. Chauncey Davis. OG, triple OG. Come here, man. Chauncey Davis, stand up. You are officially in the building as a member of the MOBB. So glad to have you. Been waiting on you for a long time, man. So feels good. Feels good. Feels good. Mob, you know what to do. It's OG, triple OG. All right. Him and Mr. Ron B are the resident OG, triple OGs. Welcome to the squad, Chauncey Davis. All right. Let's see. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Metaphor writes, get CP3 in for Norwell. Wild Goose gonna eat bear tomorrow. Well, I knew some chicanery was coming when Ronald was asked about Wild Goose and Benjamin St. Juice in their performance against the Titans. And I was like, I said, Ron, don't let it go to your head, no. We were playing the Tennessee Titans. Don't let it go to your head, no. All right. They don't have any receivers. So, of course, Rashad Wild Goose looked good. And you know what? The goose might be loose against the Bears because they don't have anybody either except for Darnell Mooney. And Darnell Mooney, well, I shouldn't say that because they move Mooney around. He might get to cook him some goose on Thursday. If they were smart, they put him in the slot and let him cook some goose. Because Juice is going to be outside and Fuller's going to be outside. I'd go after Wild Goose in the slot. That's your best bet. So they might cook some Wild Goose. We'll see. I don't think they're ready to put him in there yet, but we'll see. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Metaphor, who writes, can we dip the Carolina garage sale for Bradley Bozeman, the center? I don't know if Bradley Bozeman is all that great. I'd rather just stick Tyler Larson in there and keep it pushing. Like, Bradley Bozeman doesn't know our system. And, I mean, he's solid. Don't get me wrong. And if I'm not mistaken, ex-Alabama Crimson Tide center, I believe. I think that's where Bradley Bozeman came from. So it'd be just adding another, Alabama player to the laundry list of Alabama players that already exist on the roster. But I think I'm good there. Tyler Larson in at center, I'll be fine with that. I wonder if they're going to try and do that. I think they're tired of, this revolving door at center. But how about you stick Tyler in there and hope that that's the last time you got to make a move at center? Anyway, I digress. That's right, Chauncey. That's right. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, maybe Ron made his quarterback statement to sell us on Wentz and himself needing another year before expecting too much. I'm going to read you something from my guy, Derek B, right? So Derek hit me up. I told you we talk all the time. He DMs me. And, we have these discussions because we often go back and forth between, debating stuff. It's Derek B. One thing I love about him, he's very opinionated and he's very resolute in his stances. When he has a stance, he takes a hardline stance like, yo, this is what I see. This is what I believe. And I'm like, I don't see that. He was like, well, this is what I see. So we go back and forth, right? And this is funny. I find this funny. So Derek B says, do you think that Ron's comments are a tactic to get the team to rally behind him? It seems like that's the effect that it's having. Even the national media has changed their primary target, or am I giving him too much credit? So essentially what he was saying was, did Ron make those comments to change the narrative from Carson Wentz stinks to, Ron Rivera just threw him under the bus, how could he? And take the pressure off of Carson, put it on Ron, and get the players to rally around Carson. I said, and this is my response, you're giving him way too much credit. Psychologically, Ronald isn't that sharp. He said, I meant for the team to rally behind Wentz and shift the focus from Wentz to Ron. It made the media take a closer look at how bad the team is, but no, he's not that sharp. I said, that's what I meant. You really think Ronald is perceptive enough to go out and purposefully say something that he knows is going to be a lightning rod that sparks support for his beleaguered quarterback, all the while shifting the blame to himself? The answer is no way, and the no way was in all caps. So I thought that was an interesting take. Anybody out there that thinks Ron did that intentionally so that he could take the pressure off of Carson and put it on himself, no way. That is absolutely not what happened on Tuesday, okay, or Monday rather, okay? Ron, like he just said, I had a bad day. Shit, I had a bad day. He effed up. He put an incomplete statement out there, and he left everyone to fill in the blank. and everyone had a different opinion of what he said and a different interpretation, and that was the problem. So, and again, his response was wrong anyway, but then it was wrong and incomplete. Let's see. Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, my guy. OG, triple OG, Chauncey Davis writes, Lou, the creation of the Mob Squad was God sent. It was. I read your comment earlier as I was scrolling down, and he said that the Mob Squad was created because I knew that we would need this family-like environment with all of the struggles of this team. And while I would love to take credit for that, I just always wanted to create an environment where everyone could, come and be as one and come together, and talk about this team. And I have even bigger plans for this down the road. And I hope that everything kind of falls into place for it to take effect and take shape. But I like that I've created the foundation for it here so that when I'm ready to do ultimately what I've set out to do, it'll be an easy, seamless transition for everyone. So I'm looking forward to that day whenever it should come. But in the meantime, I'm really excited about what the mob has turned into, because it is a family. And I do appreciate each and every single one of you. And even the non-Mob Squad members, it's all love. We're all family. Okay. So I appreciate all of y'all out there for sure. Abel Ambrosio, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Double A, writes, last time we beat the Bears in Thursday Night Football was 2007. I remember that. That was the Sean Taylor year, right? 2007. I remember Todd Collins coming in that game, and it was not pretty by any stretch of the imagination, but we got hot that year, late in the season. And obviously we dedicated all of that to Sean. And that was the Todd Collins year. And we beat the Bears on a Thursday night. I very vividly remember that game. So, yeah, it's been done before, but that was 2007. And that was Joe Gibbs, not Ron Rivera. So there's that as well. Alex Kurz, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Alex, who writes, double up. Will you he said, we'll let you know. I appreciate that. I really want to know what the crowd is going to be like at Soldier Field and in terms of how many Washington fans are there. He says, we'll dap up every B&G wearing B&G while watching our team finally in the B&G repping the mob. Absolutely, man. Go have a blast. And as I've already mentioned to you, bring home the dub. We're still in search of our first road win of the season. Be nice to get it on Thursday Night Football. Bring home that dub, Alex. Hunter Hodovic, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Hunter Hodovic, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, writes, I agree, T. Ronald's excuse or reasons, whatever you want to call it, it has been QB since he got here. If he wanted to take that stress off, he'd blame him and the coaches, himself and the coaches. Right. That wasn't his intent. Like, don't give Ron that kind of credit. He doesn't deserve it. Like, that is not what he was intending to do. All right. Like I said, he just gave a flicked ass answer. It blew up in his face, and he realized it and came back the next day, cleaned it up, apologized to the team, and now he's looking to move forward. It's as simple as that. He's not some kind of, wizard, and he doesn't have any Jedi mind tricks up his sleeve. He's not that smart. And Ron's no dummy now. Don't get it twisted. But he's not that smart. He's not that perceptive to say, you know what? My quarterback's taking a lot of flack and a lot of heat here. I'm going to take some of the pressure off of him. Just let him go out and play football. Put the pressure on me. I can handle it. Nah, that's not what Ron's thinking. F that. That's not what Ron's thinking at all. And yeah, since he's gotten here, he's blamed a lot on quarterback because he did, as a head coach, he's never really had to endure not having a quarterback. And when he's lost consistently, it's been because he didn't have Cam Newton. So when you're exposed to something and that's all you know, you think that this is the only way I can win. And look, who are we fooling? Like, you have to have a quarterback to win consistently in this league. We can win, 10 games with Taylor Heineke at quarterback. Maybe. I doubt it. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. You're not winning 10 games consistently with Taylor Heineke. That's the problem. All right. The likelihood is you're not winning 10 games with Taylor Heineke. But you could. You just won't be able to do it year after year after year after year. And you'll never be a threat to win the Super Bowl with Taylor Heineke at quarterback. And so you do need a quarterback. But make no mistake about it. They've gone about it all the wrong way. If you're that serious, and you saw it firsthand in Carolina, you got there and you had the number 1 overall pick and you took Cam Newton. You're never going to be bad enough here. You got here and you had the number 2 overall pick. You could have taken, and look, I wasn't in favor of this, so I'm not going to make it seem like they made a mistake. It was Chase Young all day, every day, and twice on Sundays. And in that particular draft, twice on a Thursday. Take him at number 2. I wanted Joe Burrow. He wasn't available. The Bengals took him 1 overall. I didn't want anything to do with Justin Herbert. Nothing. I didn't want Tua. He was too banged up. He was coming off of shoulder surgery. And his whole career was marred by injuries at Alabama. I want no parts of Tua. Take Chase Young. Obviously, hindsight, you take Justin Herbert. But if quarterback was that important to you, you would have done something by now. Not continue to sniff around veterans that are on the trade block. You would have done something via the draft to go get a young guy. And I get last year's draft was not the year to do it. There was nothing there to be had. But if you're that serious about getting a quarterback, you would have already tried to get one via the draft. You had 2020, you had 2021. There were plenty of quarterbacks in both of those draft classes, and you decided that you were good. You were going to go get Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then you were going to go get, Carson Wentz. Or Jimmy Garoppolo is what you really were after initially. You're right. Phil Ricards. Stand up. You are officially the newest member of the MOBB. Really appreciate you, Phil. Thank you for your support. Mob, you know what to do. Show Phil some love. Open those arms wide and greet Phil with the biggest Mob Squad hug possible. Phil, welcome to the squad. Glad to have you. Likely Phenomenon. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, LP, writes, told you y'all wasn't going to beat us, bro. LOL. Y'all was looking at us like food. Our defenses stink. They do. And you were right. You said you were going to beat us, and I didn't believe you at the time. I was like, nope, you're not beating us, bro. It ain't happening. And looking back on it, that loss is even worse now because your Lions absolutely stink again. Oh, no, we suck again. And we're right there with you. Your one win is us. So, I mean, it's the pot calling the kettle black. We suck just as much as you do. But your defense is god-awful. And now your offense, which was once a stud, took a huge step backwards against the Patriots last week. But that's Bill Belichick, so that's understandable. But we'll see. I don't trust the Lions, but I don't trust my own team. I don't trust any 1-4 team or 1-3-1 team out there. I don't trust the Panthers. I don't trust the Lions. I don't trust the Commanders. I don't trust the Raiders. I don't trust the Texans. So, yeah. Welcome to the club. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Metaphor, writes, Ron equals idiot savant. Rain Man Ron, new name. I felt bad when I think I called Scott Turner an idiot. I don't like name calling. That's not fair. I was mad. I was upset. I shouldn't have said that. But I don't like calling people names. Although at times I think it's warranted at times. I don't agree with some of the things. That doesn't make them idiots. Maybe not football savvy and smart, but not idiots. Anyway, Rain Man Ron. That's your new nickname for him. Okay. Joe Rockhead J. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Joe Rockhead J, who writes, Ron's cleanup explanation sounds like he was making excuses for Wentz more than blaming him. I don't think the intent was ever to drag Carson Wentz into this discussion. I think that was his way of saying these other teams have built their football teams around their quarterbacks, whether for good, for better or for worse. They've built their programs, which again I don't agree with. This regime, the new regime in New York, has no ties to Daniel Jones at all whatsoever. They didn't build a damn thing around Daniel Jones. They went out and got him some more talent. They went out and got the receiver kid. He's not even healthy right now. They're winning games without him or Kadarius Toney. Like, they didn't do anything other than invest in the offensive line, which needed to be done anyway. Even if Daniel Jones isn't the guy, the next guy that comes in there needs to be protected. So it didn't matter. They needed to invest in the offensive line. That wasn't a Daniel Jones thing. They didn't invest a damn thing and built anything around Daniel Jones. Same could be said for, Cooper Rush. Now, the Cowboys, and I've said the same thing about the Cowboys and the Eagles. Those two rosters have insulated the quarterback position to the point where all you have to do as the quarterback of those teams is just not F it up. Now, I think Hurts is doing more than just not effing it up. He's out there making plays. But those rosters are loaded, Eagles and Cowboys. So it's not the quarterback. It's not just the quarterback in any of these teams in the NFC East. It's not. So I could argue that outside of Dak, and Dak hasn't been a part of the Cowboys 4-1 start. Outside of Dak, the quarterback isn't the best part of any of the teams in the division. The Eagles' offensive line is by far and away their strongest, the strong suit of their football team. With the Cowboys, clearly it's their defense. It's not even up for debate. That's with Dak healthy as well. The defense is carrying that football team. With the Giants, I think their defense is their calling card. And now I think, honestly, I'd take it a step further and say, similar to the Cowboys, Wink Martindale. They were solid with Patrick Graham, but he didn't scare anybody. Wink Martindale scares you because Wink Martindale don't give a F. He's blitzing your ass. He's not going to sit back there and let you pick him apart. Why do you think Aaron Rodgers? It was so fun to watch him go up against Aaron Rodgers because he wasn't going to sit back there and let Aaron Rodgers pick him apart. He's like, if I'm going down with 6 dudes coming after Aaron Rodgers' ass. And if he gets me, he gets me. But what I won't do is rush forward and let Aaron Rodgers pick me apart. Not happening. Not on my watch. And Dan Quinn is, to me, again, another guy in the division where you just say, he's the difference. I think it's Brian Daboll and Wink Martindale. It's a combination of those two in New York. I think it's Dan Quinn and Dan Quinn alone in Dallas. But anyway, I digress. I don't think he ever meant to drag Wentz into that conversation. It came out wrong, and he didn't do himself any favors by the way he explained anything. He made it worse, actually. Likely phenomenon. Thank you for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, LP, who writes, appreciate your hard work, bro. Hashtag Louis T Live. I really appreciate you, man. Appreciate you a lot. Shauna Gang, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, hey, Lou, can you please tell me how you feel about us right now? Because these Eagles are really pushing through that we 1-4, like, duh, we know. Look, we're going to hear it from the Eagles fans a lot, and they're not going to go away. And you know what? I'm going to take mine on the chin. Like, I made this bed. I'm going to lie in it. But it's just a reminder. And, you know, the football gods, and I told you, sports is a microcosm of life. And the football gods are just like the gods in real life, right? In that they have a very unique way of humbling you, of reminding you of something that maybe you might have forgotten. And so every now and again, I remember when I was in my past life and I would be working, and every so often I would get comfortable at my previous occupation. And there would be just ever so subtle reminder of, bro, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. And I don't know if you were getting comfortable, but I'm not going to allow you to get comfortable. Get your ass out of here. Do whatever it is you got to do to get out of here. You're not supposed to be here. And I would always say, hey, God, hey, G-O-D, I owe you one, bro. JC, appreciate you. Because I know I ain't supposed to be doing this. And I think the football guys had to tap me on the shoulder like, Louie T, have you lost your damn mind? Do you know you root for the damn Commanders? Do you know Daniel Snyder is your owner? And you talking shit about 12-5? You must have lost your damn mind. So I'm going to reach out. I'm going to touch you and bring your ass back down to earth and remind you quickly that that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Okay? You don't get to win double-digit games. Shit, you talking about 12 or 11, you haven't seen more than 10 since 91. You think that shit's about to change this year? Did you forget who you root for? So no, I had to be reminded. And so he had to do it in just the most brutal and painful way so that I don't try this stunt again. Not until there's either a franchise difference-making quarterback, a generational quarterback, or there's ownership change. Don't try that shit again. I heard him loud and clear. He doesn't have to worry about me doing this shit again. I know better. I knew better, so I should have been doing better, but I definitely know better now. So I have to take these lumps that are coming my way. I deserve them because I was out of pocket about a team that I knew better than to go out here and be talking reckless about. They did the same shit to me last year. We won 4 in a row. And I got up there talking saucy. I'm talking about cash money on the table. And then we got our ass whooped by the Cowboys. Now, understand, I'm not going to stop talking shit. They're going to look at me and they're going to be like, you talking shit, bitch? Yeah, I'm still talking my shit. I'm still talking my shit. But it's going to be in a much more respectable manner, okay? And you got to understand, we looking up at the rest of the division, we can barely see them, right? When we yell out, there's no response. It's just an echo. It's just us. Hello, 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 hello. Is anybody in there? Dallas, Philly. Normally, we could just talk to the Giants. They right next to us. Like, man, Giants, man, this is some bullshit, right? They left our ass. Giants. New York. Come back. We by ourselves. So I gotta wear this. Normally, we got a road dog, a tag team partner. We're not going through it by ourselves. Misery loves company, all of that good jazz. Nah, he said, I got to teach you a lesson, bro. You are out of pocket. Lesson learned. I heard you loud and clear. So, yeah. How do I feel about us right now? I think we're underachieving. I'm very disappointed in the start to the season. We're better than what our record indicates, but we're not better coached than our record indicates. And that's why we sit where we sit at 1-4. Oh, that's right. Sorry. I said Tua with shoulder. Metaphor corrected me. Tua was he just came off the hip surgery. Correct. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Hunter Hodovic, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Hunter Hodovic, who writes, not sure if I'm a fool for thinking this way, but if we lose this game, honestly, I don't want Chase to see the field and then move forward with Sam. If we lose this game, I think that's another conversation that starts to permeate amongst the fan base, and it becomes a real thing. I think they're going to play him regardless, but that is a conversation that definitely needs to be had. You're 1-5. What are you playing for? You really going to put him out there if he doesn't need to be out there? Chase is chomping at the bit to get back on the field. So I don't know if he'll go for the whole, hey, dude, we got nothing. Like, he wants to play ball. So it's killing him. You can see it on the sidelines, to be in street clothes, to be in civvies while his boys are out there going to war, and he can only cheer them on from the sideline. It is absolutely eating him alive. So the minute that he gets clearance to go out on the football field and he thinks he's ready, they're going to have to strap him down in a straitjacket if they tell him he can't play. He's going to go crazy. So I don't know if that's, something that they'll do or not, or even entertain. I think once he's ready, and honestly, I would much rather him get out there, get the jitters out, get that confidence back in his knee this year, and then hit the ground running next year. But I also have already said this, and I do feel kind of similar to the way you feel. Like, what are we doing here? Let's let him get that thing as strong as he can get it, and let him come and get after it next year. Like, the last thing we need is for him to get out there and something happen, in a season that is clearly already lost. So I could see an argument for both sides. I could see a case being made for, hey, he needs to get out there, get his feet wet, get confidence back in that knee, and start to produce again, and start to, get those reps up so that next year he's ready to hit the ground running, and he's not going through that process in the first 2 games or 3 games that he plays where it's a filling out process. My knee is fine. There's a pile right by my knee and I'm not panicking. Get that out of the way this year, and then next year be ready to hit the ground running. But there's also a case to be made of, well, what are we doing? Why is he out there? If you really think he's the future of this defense, he shouldn't even be anywhere near the field in a season where you're already 1-5. So, yeah, I think that's a conversation that'll happen if this game doesn't go in our favor, but we'll see what happens. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, in 05, after week 6, we are 4-2. Imagine that. I'm not shocked. That was Gibbs 2.0, man. That was Gibbs 2.0. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Fat American, who writes, late to the show, but I'm here. How y'all doing? We're doing well, man. What about yourself? Good to hear from you, as always. I guess you're just coming back from 05, but we still here. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Fat American, writes, Lou, what would you think of a Gibbs 3.0? I wouldn't think very much of it. Again, you get to a point where if you haven't been in the game for a while and then you come back, the game has passed you by. So much has changed since the last time Joe was here in 2007. Think about how much has changed since 2007. Remember how behind the times he was when he came back? So much so that he lost confidence in his offensive scheme and decided to bring, Al Saunders on to run the offense, which probably was the biggest mistake he made in hindsight. Well, it wasn't the biggest, but it was one of the mistakes he made. But yeah, I mean, Joe was still stuck in 1991 when he came back the first time. Imagine if he came back again and he saw the evolution of you can't touch the quarterback and you can't hit guys. Like, all this stuff, it would be new to him. RPOs, what are these? Run pass option. I'm just getting used to using the shotgun. What do you mean run pass option? Nah, man. Joe Jackson Gibbs is already immortalized in Washington lore. I would hate to see him come back and tarnish whatever, the legacy that he already has has, right? He left early last time because he was done. Couldn't imagine him coming back at this age. There's not a lot of dudes doing it at that age, right? Like Pete Carroll is a unicorn in that sense. Pete's out here coaching like he's a 47-year-old, but Pete's 70-something. People don't realize Pete Carroll's that old because Pete's doing it with enthusiasm and a zest for the game that you just don't see from 70-year-olds. Usually they look 70. Football is a very demanding sport, and it ages you quick because of all the time that you have to put in. And it's only 16 games, not like basketball where, hey, we'll get them tomorrow night. You lose a game, and it's like your whole world is literally coming down around you, and you got 6 days to fix the shit and try to get it done the next week. And if you don't, you add the weight from the last loss to the weight of this loss, and you stack that on top of yourself, and now you're putting in even more work, and you start to squeeze even tighter, and sometimes it becomes counterproductive. Now you're sleeping at the couch at the office. You're not even going home because you're trying to figure out, how can I beat this team? And then you don't get it done again, and now it's 3 in a row, and it's really bad. And you see how this goes. It snowballs, right? Football's tough. It's a lot easier on the winners, but it's tough. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Fat American writes, Lou, Ron ain't getting fired even if we go 5-12 this season. Even if he do, my thing is, who in the hell will Dan Snyder hire? Y'all trust him? Nah, that's kind of what I've been alluding to is, look, you can't be scared of what is out there. Like, I don't want to live in fear. I've talked about being fearful of, okay, you get rid of Ron, then what? That's always my thing. And then what? Well, if Ron's not getting it done, I don't know what the alternative is, but I don't want to keep banging my head up against the wall with Ron. Clearly, that's insanity. So if we're not confident Ron can get it done, we got to do something else. We got to turn, we got to pivot, and we got to go in a different direction. And we can't be afraid. Somebody's going to take the job. It may not be who we want. It might not be who's at the top of your list, but somebody, it's only 32 of these. Somebody's going to take the job. Even knowing what they know about Daniel Snyder, somebody's going to take the job. I just fear that the guy that does take the job isn't a guy that, other teams around the league would be willing to hire, but because of our state, we don't have a choice. But that's a risk you've got to be willing to take. If you don't believe in Ron Rivera, then he shouldn't be here. Period. So I agree with you. I don't think Ron's getting fired. So there's that. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat American writes, Joe Rockhead's nickname me Fat A 05 dead or alive. 05 dead or alive. I'm gonna tell you right now, man. That's your thing. 05 dead or alive. That's a good one. Hunter Hodovic, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Hunter Hodovic writes, but above all else, all I got to say is many men, many men wish death upon me, blood in my eye. He says, blood in my eye, dog. I can't see. I'm trying to be what I'm destined to be. Man, that was a banger. What year was that? I'm trying to think. I was in high school. I want to say that 50 craze was 03. I really want to say it was 03. It might have been late 02 into 03, but it was definitely 03. That's all we was playing that year. Blood in my eyes, dog, and I can't see. I'm trying to be what I'm destined to be. He's trying to take my life away. That whole album, that Get Rich or Die Trying album, was just ridiculous. Shauna Gang, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Who writes, Lou, do you think we're done for the year, and do you believe our record is what our team is? Look, you are what your record says you are. I'm not going to play the what if game. We're 1-4 because we're a bad football team. We're poorly coached, and our players aren't dogs. We don't make the game-changing plays. We are what we are because that's who we are. I think we should be better. And do I think we're done? This Bears game will tell me all I need to know. They can give us all the lip service in the locker room they want. Talk about we're not giving up. That's all they're supposed to say, all that stuff. But the play on the field will tell me all I need to know. They've looked better the last 3 weeks. The Eagles game was rock bottom, right? You can't get any lower than the way we played in that game. Then they came back from that game against Dallas. They looked better. They had a chance. It was a 5-point lead in the fourth quarter. It was 15-10. We had a chance in the fourth quarter. That's all you can ask for. And then last week, we were down 4 in the fourth quarter. And we had the football on the 2-yard line, first and goal with 19 seconds, and every opportunity to win the game, and we didn't want it. So they're trending in the right direction. But, again, this isn't horseshoes. You don't get points for being close. We got to win football games. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, would you be comfy with Wright picking the new GM head coach? No. I mean, I would be more comfortable with him doing it over Daniel Snyder, but no. Jason Wright went to business school to run the business side of this organization, not to be an NFL GM. He played, so he knows a little something, but that's the extent of it. Like, I don't want to make him out to be something that he's not. You know, he's a business and finance guy. So let him handle that. I don't think he should be intermingling with the football decisions. That's how you run into a Bruce Allen situation. And he's not Bruce Allen. Trust me on that. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Luck writes, on the block in my B-Rob jersey, feeling bulletproof. Again, you ain't shit, Luck. I can't with you, man. I just can't. I can't. That American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I also think maybe we're just not as talented as we think. You see real talent in other teams, even bad teams. I don't see us having that. I don't believe that. I do think we're talented. I don't think that our talent is coached in the manner that it should be to get them to maximize. Like, for instance, Montez Sweat. I still don't think he's the best version of himself. He's close, though, but he's not the best version of himself. I think you've got to get real coaching in order to pull that out of him. And even with some of the technical things that I don't think he's being taught, just putting him in some situations like, for instance, Montez Sweat and Chase Young lining up on the same side, right, when he comes back. Like, they never did that the first 2 years that Chase Young was here. They never lined up on the same side. It's always one on one side, one on the other side. Like, just little stupid shit like that. Like, they don't move Tez around. He's either at left defensive end or he's at right defensive end. How about standing him up and moving him around and doing different stuff with them? You never know where Aaron Donald's going to line up. He had a matchup against Smith for the Cowboys at left tackle, and they went to that shit and kept abusing it. Like, oh, he can't block Aaron Donald, so we just going to eat his ass alive. Move dudes around, you know? But I think this team is more talented. It's talent. It's a talented team. I don't think they get the just due for being talented. Like, you can say what you want about Ron, and he's made a lot of bad decisions and decisions that have backfired and things of that nature. He's not perfect. None of these guys are. None of these GMs are perfect. No one's batting 1,000. But and I know the bar was extremely low. I'm aware of this. Like, me saying that this roster is way better than when Ron got here. Of course it is. It couldn't get any worse. You saw the stuff that we had. I've already went through this already. Our roster was trash when Ron got here. That's why we were 3-13. But it's considerably better. Now, it's still lacking in a number of different areas, but keep in mind, Ron's only been here 3 years. Our roster was rock bottom. It was bottom third of the league. All right. I'd say it was one of the worst 3 rosters in football when he got here. It's going to take a lot of work to clean it. And one draft isn't going to get that done. One free agency period, 2 drafts isn't going to change that. You got to slowly continue to change that. And I think they're doing that. And also, what you got to realize is not having success in past drafts, you should still have guys on your team from 2018 and 2017 draft and the 2016 draft. You should still have 2 or 3 players from the 2016 draft still on your team, still contributing at a high level. We got none from that draft class. Like, that shit comes back to haunt you as well. We couldn't hit on a second round pick for like 10 years. That kills your roster. So, yeah, like, I think it's the roster's come a long way. It's got a long way to still go, but we have some talent, man. I don't think we've seen, like, I get on Scott Turner about it. We haven't seen enough of Amani Rodgers. We haven't seen enough of Cole Turner. I get it. That was his first game as a pro. I think we're going to find out Cole Turner is really, really good. I like what I saw from him in the game in terms of his route running. I just need him to get the rock now. And I think based off of what he did, I think with Logan Thomas being out, there are going to be specific plays that are going to be drawn up this week to get Cole Turner the football. And if we get some looks, and I don't think you're going to get those same looks. The Titans were aggressive. They were going cover 1 and with a single high safety. And I don't think you're going to get that look against the Bears. They're going to play a cover 2 shell, keep everything in front of them, not give up any deep plays. I don't think you're going to get those same looks, but I think they're going to try to get Cole Turner involved. But I think this team is a lot further along from a talent perspective. I don't think this staff gets the most out of the talent that they have. That's the problem. So you don't get to see it. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Joe Rockhead J writes, so basically, William Jackson III lied, embarrassed, or didn't want to ask more questions. Ron didn't expose him, but he didn't lie for him either. Something along those lines. I think somewhere in the middle of that statement is the truth. I do think his back was bothering him, but I think he got benched for performance. If he were playing well, I don't think he comes out of that game. If you get what I'm saying. I think it was a combination of, oh, my back hurts. And hey, man, you real funky right now. You just missed another tackle. We're going to go ahead and take you out of the game. yeah, go ahead, man. My back hurt anyway. Yeah. Somewhere in there. That's where the truth is. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat American writes, Ron equals Jeff Fisher? Question mark. I don't think he's as bad as Jeff Fisher, but you say what you want about Jeff Fisher, and Jeff Fisher at the end of his career was terrible, right? We saw what he did with Jared Goff, and then voila, Sean McVay shows up, and Jared Goff looks like an actual NFL quarterback. He was well on his way to being out of the league under Jeff Fisher. But say what you want about Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher had a lot of winning seasons in Tennessee, man. Took them to the Super Bowl. He had some winning seasons. That not like Ron hasn't had the kind of success Jeff Fisher had. I'll say that. But yeah, Jeff Fisher was quite the character. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat American writes, I was in 05, came to say hi. Now I'm going back. I believe you. I believe you. Be safe out in those 05 streets, man. That was a different time. Be safe. Fat American writes, well, first of all, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Fat American writes, would you trust Mayhew picking a new coach? I don't know. I probably not. If Ron's not here, I probably would want him gone too. I would want to clear the entire deck because all of these dudes are here because of Ron Rivera. So if Ron's no longer here, I don't want that guy here either. I would like to just start anew. That's pretty much how I would go about it. Find a new GM and then let that guy pick the head coach. Take Command for Life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, "Hey, Lou, not much to say today besides let's win." I got nothing to add. I got nothing to add to that. I'm with it. Shauna Gang, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, "Lou, on one more thing. Why is it okay when other quarterbacks start off bad and they don't get trash talk, but when it's us, they do it?" Well, I mean, first of all, we're an easy target. We're a mark, okay? It's low-hanging fruit, but it's easy fruit to go pick off the tree. I mean, no one's going to disagree with you when you talk bad about the Commanders because they're the Commanders. They suck. So that's number one. Number two, it's our organization. That's really, like, people give the Colts the benefit of the doubt. I contend that the Colts organization isn't that much different from our organization. Somewhere along the lines, they got this all of a sudden great rap. They're an excellent organization. It's well run. What are you talking about? The only difference between the Washington Commanders and the Indianapolis Colts organization is two things, or two people rather. Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, okay? That's the difference. Before Manning showed up, the Indianapolis Colts were one of the worst franchises in sports, not just the NFL, in sports. And then Peyton Manning showed up, and it changed everything in Indianapolis. And then they went 1 year of sucking when Manning had the neck injury and the surgery, and then they got Andrew Luck. And so there was really never any pain that they had to incur, right? And so he kept that franchise playing at an amazing level, okay? But make no mistake about it. They've got I call him eccentric. I really want to say other words to describe him, but as I mentioned, I don't really like name calling. They've got an eccentric owner, in Jim Irsay, and he's impulsive, just like the rest of these ridiculous owners, like David Tepper with the Carolina Panthers. And it's not a well-run franchise. They got rid of Carson Wentz because he didn't want to get a vaccine for COVID, and they lost the season at the end because of Carson, and he didn't feel like he could trust a guy that couldn't get the vaccine. So he put the whole season on him. Matt Ryan's going over there and stinking it up. But you know what? It's the Indianapolis Colts, and that's a well-run organization. And so Matt Ryan will be fine there. Okay. So you say. We'll see. We'll see. Matt Ryan might not make it through the entire season. They might get his ass killed over there behind that offensive line. But we'll see. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat American writes, "Man, honestly, at this point, bring back Jay. Give him the same power that Ron has. I'm pretty sure he'd get better talent, better teams too." Look, Jay was too good of a guy. We've already established that. Jay had too many, years where guys were complaining about lack of tough practices. You can't have your coach being your player's best friend. That can't be the case. You can have relationships with your players, but there has to be a line that's drawn, and that never happened with Jay Gruden, which is why players would disrespect him over and over again, like DJ Swearinger. Jay told him flat out like 3 different times, "Hey, stop airing our shit out. You got something to say, you come in my office, we talk. Stop airing our shit out in the public eye." And every time DJ Swearinger got pissed off, he'd go out and air the coaching staff out. And Jay finally got sick of it after like the 27th time and finally got rid of him. Like, look, I already told y'all, Jay is a dude you go out and have drinks with, right? Get a couple beers, kick it, talk some shit with. You might even be able to smoke an L with Jay, right? But Jay doesn't need to be your head coach. Jay can be your offensive coordinator. Jay can't be your head coach. They said that and I'm saying they, Scott McLuhan said that Jay Gruden was the most shrewd evaluator of talent from a head coach he's ever seen in his career. But that's coming from a guy in Scott McCloughan who didn't do a very good job here of evaluating talent. So this is the same guy that decided Baker Mayfield in that 2018 draft with the likes of Josh Allen. And I'm not saying Lamar Jackson should have been, the selection, but I was a big Josh Allen guy. This is the same guy that decided Baker Mayfield had to be the number one pick for the Cleveland Browns. We saw what he did here, taking Jamison Crowder over Stephon Diggs, so forth and so forth. We can go on and on about all the misses he had here in Washington. The bottom line is I don't really trust Scott McCloughan. And so him telling me that Jay's a shrewd talent evaluator, it doesn't necessarily move the needle for me. I can tell you that the two guys that Jay really liked that ended up being good for us, Matt Ioannidis and Cole Holcomb, those were Jay guys. But Jay also liked the seventh-round receiver, Trey Quinn. That was Jay's guy as well. So Jay he absolutely loved Ryan Grant. So am I supposed to believe that Jay was this just outstanding talent evaluator? Hell no. Hell no. Take command for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Luck wrong for that bulletproof comment. Man, wrong ain't even the word that begins to describe Luck for that, man. I can't with him at all. I can't. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Luck writes, I yelled, he's bulletproof in the stands when he hurt the Titans cornerback last game. It was hella quiet too. Everyone turned looking like, who is this guy? They probably thinking he's drunk. He's crazy as hell. Oh man. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat American writes, I actually like Martin Mayhew though. I trust. Oh, that's good for you. I don't trust his ass at all, but that's cool. Shauna Gang, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Shauna Gang writes, hey Lou, I wanted to hear more how you feel. So I've said this already. I feel like the team is poorly coached in certain areas. I feel like this team defensively is good enough for us to win. All right. There's a number of ways that you could look at it. If I had to say, I would say that this team probably should be 3-2 right now. You probably should have beaten Detroit and you should have beaten Tennessee. I think you could have won the Dallas game, but their defense is so good right now that even if our offensive line wasn't in shambles, I still think we would have struggled with them. But that game was there for the taking as well. You just made too many mistakes. One of the things that I don't like that I'm seeing right now is we're becoming undisciplined. Like that wasn't a thing with us. We weren't jumping off sides. Montez Sweat was, but I watched the league. Okay. A lot of edge rushers jump off sides, the premier ones. You're trying to get that jump on the snap. So that comes with the Montez Sweat package. I wish he wouldn't. I'd rather him, I can take the offsides every now and again. The ones that kill me is when you line up offsides, and he used to be a major culprit of that. But I think the defense is good enough for us to win football games. I said that the defensive effort against Philadelphia was good enough for us to win if the offense would have come to the party sooner. I think the defensive performance against Dallas was good enough for us to win if we could have steered away from the penalties and the offense, again, had come to the party sooner and more consistently. And the defense, even though I was pissed off that they gave up, the touchdown literally 2 minutes and 30 seconds after we took the lead, 17-14, and had a chance to force them to kick a field goal on numerous occasions, It was a good enough performance for us to win that game. It's not a takeover spirit defense. They can't take over a ball game. They don't have a takeover spirit, but they're good enough to give us a chance to win. Offensively, the offensive line is crippling this offense in the run game, in the pass game. It's the reason this offense isn't maximizing its potential. That's all it is potential. Because the offensive line isn't what Carson Wentz needs it to be. And Wentz himself hasn't been great, but it's tough to put all of the blame on Wentz when you see what he's dealing with, and then you couple the fact that he's been under siege. So I think this team is capable of turning it around this year because this schedule is not difficult. That's why, everyone in the division is good. This schedule is not difficult. Okay? It's not a difficult schedule. And it's even. It's laid out for us to have opportunities. There are pockets within the schedule where you can get right. But if we can't take care of the little things, if we can't do the things that we're supposed to do, we're not going to beat anybody. And we're damn sure not going to get hot enough to turn the season around. But this team is capable. The talent on the roster is capable. I'm not sure if the coaching staff is, however. That's where I struggle right now. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat American, right? You think Greg Williams could turn this D around? He would be a lot more aggressive. If you gave him Montez Sweat and Chase Young, remember how much talent we had on that 05 defense? That was a really good defense, but we weren't super talented up front. We had Ronaldo Wynn and Phillip Daniels. Like, these are the guys that were on the defensive line. I don't know if Joe Salavea was on that line. He might have been. Like, we were solid up front, but we weren't world beaters up front. It was a good unit. Cornelius Griffin was on that line. But it was Marcus Washington. It was Sean Taylor. It was Ryan Clark was on that 05 defense. LeVar Arrington was on that 05 defense, even though he had gotten into Greg Williams' doghouse. He had talent on that defense. And the talent that he did have, he utilized it. I think he would be utilizing some of the guys he had a little bit better, but, it is what it is. Hunter Hodovic, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Hunter Hodovic writes, last one for the mob. Y'all the best. HTTLTN. Hey, really appreciate you, Hunter, man. Thank you for the super chat. Shauna Gang, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Shauna Gang writes, Lou, I'm a big fan. Love your content. Appreciate you, Shauna. Thank you so much for the support. All right. And with that said, that's going to do it for the show tonight. I really, truly do appreciate each and every single one of you coming out and supporting. I will have a short video tomorrow, get straight to the essentials of the prediction for this game and, keys. I don't even think I'm really going to get into keys to the game. I'll give you a few items like I did against Tennessee because I think it's pretty simple, just like I thought it was pretty simple against the Titans. And all of that stuff came to fruition. The things that I told you leading into that game came to fruition, and we just didn't get it done. So at the end of the day, I'll give you a little something, give you my prediction prior to the game. You can drop yours down in the comment section. Mob will squad up for the game. We'll watch it together. I'm hoping to have a, Pittsburgh Steelers type environment, even though it's not that big of a game. We were on a win streak when we played the Steelers. It turned into a big game. That's not what this is, but I'm hoping to have the same type of vibe that I had watching that game. Probably more so the Giants game last year, though. This is more of that game than the Steelers game from 2020 because Steelers were undefeated. we were going into like literally the Lions den. No one really gave us a chance. But you could see the Steelers were starting to fade, and we had a chance, and we had confidence. We had won 2 in a row, and that turned into a big, game. This is more like the Giants game from last year in week 2 on a Thursday night, where you're like, please don't fall to 0-2, because now you're 0-3 because you're going to lose to Buffalo. Please don't fall to 1-5, because if you do, you're probably going to lose to the Packers the following week, and your season's definitely over at 1-5. So I think it's more of that than anything else, but I digress. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat American writes, Greg's defenses during his time here is proof that coaching is super important. A bunch of no names, yet they played so good 04, 05, and 07, especially up front. We had Lamar Marshall at linebacker. You know what I'm saying? When LeVar got in his doghouse, he was playing Warwick Holdman. I mean, these are the guys that were playing defense for us. You know what I'm saying? And we were getting it done. So, yeah, if you're a good coach, you'll get the most out of what you have. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Luck writes, Lord, let us win today. Please, sweet baby Jesus. You sound like Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby. Oh, man. Todd Sullivan, thank you for the super sticker. Greatly appreciate you. Really, truly do appreciate you. Todd Sullivan, thank you once again for the super sticker. All right. So with that said, you guys have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll reconvene tomorrow. And after the game, hopefully we're talking about a Commanders win, snapping their ugly, nasty, stinking 4-game losing streak. And maybe they can start a win streak of their own. But you can't start a streak without one. So let's hope they get that tomorrow. Luck on the way out says, Eddie says you Bill Cosby'd our Kool-Aid. Is this true? I feel like I might have. I told you it was spiked. I didn't say with what. But anyway, Miss Perry, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Miss Perry writes, you got to read these done like in the comment section. Y'all rock. I appreciate everyone out here. Y'all are so supportive, man. Again, none of this is possible without y'all. Let's get this dub tomorrow, man. Damn, I'm sick of losing. I will see y'all tomorrow, man. Anyway, I digress. You guys take care, man. God bless and good night.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone. Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
I read the comments, Condo P. They're hilarious. All right, I'm going for real this time. Deuces.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20.